Welcome back, friends, to Six Invitational 2023. We're live again in Montreal. Beautiful snowy city here. Finally get to be back in North America. I'm Rush Dominic, your host. With me on the analyst desk are Demo and XR Troika. We just wrapped up our first two matches to start off the day, and now we continue on with some more. MNM versus Team Liquid. MNM have had great success over the past couple of days. Liquid reeling a bit, but looking to come back as one of the teams that everybody's looking at internationally, thinking, when is the time that Liquid will lift a trophy? It's been way too long. They've gotten so close so many times. Is it going to happen here? Well, they're going to have to go through MNM and others in their group. And actually, on that note, how about we have a chat about MNM Gaming, our first squad here. I have two, I guess, UK talent on here, right? You like MNM?
He's correct, and that we are.
Correct, yeah.
You like so MNM?
Correct again, yeah. 2 for 2.
So
you got 3 for 3.
You think MNM is good?
Correct.
No, sorry, yeah, correct, yeah. So I was thinking M&M from the last major, sorry.
So wait a second. Can we pull that video away for a second?
No, hold on, we need to see the boys.
No.
Hold on, we need to see the boys.
We've already seen them.
That thing, right, see that?
That thing.
No mullet.
That,
you have no idea.
No mullet.
I think the no mullet is a buff. Like the skinhead is a buff.
Look, you can have as many buffs as you want, but personality is another thing. So we're gonna bring it back up to our main camera here, because it seems like you two saw all the tweets about you, and you're like, oh, we're going to double down and make it even worse, and actually wear literally the same thing.
Yeah, we are. Not only have we got the same jacket on, I mean, it's not the same at all, but not only have we got a very similar jacket on,
but
we've also got, ready? Kapow!
Oh, my name as well. We've been
for the M&M jersey.
We've been bought out.
We've gone for the M&M jersey.
We've been bought out.
The thing is about this matchup,
the caster crunch.
This matchup is so difficult because on the one hand, we've got Liquid. Both love doing the BR6.
That was more your team though. I was more in the red clan.
Yeah, you were more for FaZe, but I really enjoyed watching Liquid in the BR6. I really enjoyed following them throughout many majors, ones that I've worked, ones that I haven't. And then you've got MNM, a team that we've literally grown up with as members of talent, a team that we've started with right at the bottom, right inside of ESL Prem back in the day, all the way through to here at the Six Invitational for the second time. So it's a difficult game for us to really like pin any sort of, it's a very difficult one emotionally.
Yeah,
you don't know where you want.
It's very difficult, actually. I mean, look, what is it? Look how difficult it is. Look how difficult it is.
Difficult.
Very, very difficult. I can definitely tell.
It is, Milosh.
Can you just do it for the content? Look into the camera in front of you. Okay, can we get close up on our analysts? Okay, look into the camera and then look into each other. Look at the camera again and just go. All right, give me action.
You gonna count us down?
Acting. Yeah. Look into the camera first.
And then at each other. And then at the
camera. And then bam. 3, 2, 1. God, that was so limp.
What's the matter with it? That was good. That was good.
More action, like.
I actually have a bit of a hot take.
What is it?
I know this is going to sound really weird coming from me, but I don't think MNM have really proven to me yet that they are the real deal. Reason why? They beat Wolves, who they play every week. We know they can beat them, and they beat an APAC team. Can you realistically say that they have had an actual top-tier team go up against them yet?
No, and I'll even add more to it. Yesterday, when we were sitting down in the green room, Nello passed behind us, and we're telling him, very well done. He says, thank you, but we don't want to get our hopes up just yet, because we still have more games to go. We don't want to jinx ourselves. We want to keep it rolling. And that humility, we all know, is Nello's specifically strong point, and that spreads very well in MNM.
It does. It's important to keep yourself grounded as well. You know, you've seen a bit of early success, but there's always going to be a couple of teams in a group, or one team in particular, that is going to be seen as the weaker team. It's just the way that groups work. So the fact that they've arguably gone up against a couple of those already, it makes a lot of sense that they are still keeping themselves humble.
What about Liquid on the other side? We've seen them go up against the Sonics on day 1, 7-4-7 or 4-7-4-7 loss. Still a valiant effort against the Sonics, who have been playing very, very well here in the tournament. What can we say about Liquid? Because they had their day off yesterday. Is it really like 24 hours so they can just reset mentally, get back into it.
And they need to.
Yeah.
They really need
Fair.
to. Because this is a team that is now a team that, sure, they've got Lagonis been brought in there, but realistically, you want to be seeing something more out of this team. This is a God squad that has never won anything. And how long is that going to last until they make a change or until something else happens along the line? So for me, I'd love to see him come out and play well today.
Speaking to Dev Morta, and we were chatting about Liquid, and he was saying, it'd be such a shame, this team to not win anything, and he wants to see them lift the hammer. It'd be a great story. I'm like, but I feel as though we've given them so many chances. And for me, I feel as though the magic's ran out. That for me anyway, I'm not really, this is there, they can fight. I'm buying it now. I am.
Did they really? Because I mean, we gave
them a shot 2 years ago at getting the hammer. We gave them a shot a couple of months ago at lifting the major. I just think that the magic's gone.
People said that about BDS.
Yeah, I said that about BDS.
Everybody did. Berlin not attending Berlin was probably the best thing that happened to them. But you know what?
That's just me. Again, other people can still believe in the hopes and dreams, but for me, I don't know if it's there.
Fair enough. We had a custom graphic for you, Ollie. Would you like to go ahead? Explain. What is this about?
Well, we wanted to highlight one of the players on the side of Liquid, a very popular player. There is no doubt. We wanted to highlight Ness. And more specifically, I love the photos that come with this. I wanted to ask the question, where is Ness?
Oh, you're sick. You know that. You're sick.
Where is Nesk? Now, let's put this graphic into a little bit of context. 2023, they've played one game, so we aren't, this is whole SI stats for 21 and 22 versus one game of 23. So it's a very small sample size in the grand scheme of things. Liquid tend to have deep runs. They tend to play a lot of maps. Therefore, stats tend to look quite good. However, Nesk inside of day one was not in the server. And that's a problem because with a player of his caliber, you expect him to be there making a contribution. Look back there to 21. Of course, this was where they had arguably one of their better runs, as it were.
Finalists, yeah.
He's doing a fantastic job there inside of that best of 3 at the start of 21. And then, of course, inside of 22, the first best of 3 of that SI as well is a direct comparison. So he's gone from dropping 21 kills, 24 kills to then dropping 8 kills inside of one best of 3. Where is Nesk? Hopefully he shows up today.
And that is, like you said, day one comparison. It's the opening day of the tournament for Team Liquid in all 3 tournaments over the past 3 years. So that is a lot to go through and see that evolution. To be fair, he's been around since literally day one. That's pretty consistent, if you ask me, given it all.
He's up there with one of the SI legends,
for sure.
He's absolutely, without a doubt.
Just legends overall. Like everything what this guy has done, he's top 5 players of all time. That's not even without a doubt.
But he is on that decline. And there is an argument to say that he is headed in that direction.
We said it so many times.
Slowing down a little bit.
He's the greatest player to ever play this game, but has never won an SI. That is the thing with Nesk.
But I'll push it even further. Is Lagonis the missing link that Liquid have needed? Because if I'm looking at
it is.
Tripping,
100% it is.
Who are you talking about?
Lagotness.
Lagotness.
Yeah.
With a T. Honestly, I love Lagonis.
Yes, he's a fantastic person.
Such a nice guy. I've had many chats with him throughout the years of doing BR6, just general podcasts, getting to know him. And what he brings as a player is incredible. He's got a lot of traditional sport background. He's really into competing in those sort of ways. Loves a bit of tennis. However, what he brings into Siege and what he brings into the server, second to none, so experienced. And for that to be brought back into the ecosphere that is Liquid, when you think about what they lost in Sexy Cake, is massive.
That is true. And now Sexy Cake is on the broadcast. Seems like, broadcasts are the retirement homes. Hello, Pengu. Let's move on then to, I love Nick.
Why are you always just hating on...
I don't know why. I used to enjoy it when like Fabio's on here. I haven't worked with Fresher really much through the tournament so far. So, usually he's
good or
the
a bad thing?
No comment. Map bans, though, for this series, what do they look like? A reminder, it's all BO3s until we hit the grand final. So we're going to have a lot of competition to go through here at the Invitational. Really hope you're enjoying the match format and also the points format we've had here at SI. I think so far it's the best we have had. Pick and ban has been easily exploitable for some teams versus others. And Mandy did a great piece on that yesterday. So look at it in one of our games earlier in the day. 4 bans first. MNM will go first for Kafe. Their pick, they start on the attack. Liquid pick Clubhouse, and they start on the attack there. Our decider will be Villa, as Liquid has the last ban. Demolad, what do you think?
Kafe, straight in. I'm happy to see the ban before Kafe. I think that's one thing that me and you immediately look at for MNM is please ban Chalet against them. Do not let MNM on that map. But they went for the Kafe pick. Very aggressive map. And I personally think with MNM, the format they're on, with the players that they have, like Solotov, has been incredible. You stick them on a map where it's just about gun skill, you're going to be rewarded. Surely you're going to be rewarded.
I agree. I think that Solotov, somebody that's had a fantastic tournament so far, he's up there in terms of the highest rated players in the whole thing. Yeah. MNM as a whole have got some of the highest rated players inside of the whole Six Invitational. That's always going to come into good stead when you're talking about a map like Kafe, which can be quite gun skill orientated, as are most. I think that both teams have done a cracking job in the first 4 bans. They've really removed some good targets there. The Skyscraper getting taken away by Liquid, not a map that they are very comfortable on at all. I think MNM would have been happy to go there. Chalet, as you've already mentioned. Clubhouse coming in as the second choice here. I mean, anybody can play Clubhouse at this point. Is it really your map pick, or is it just a map that you've both sort of landed on? That's one of those things. So Liquid going to take them over to Club, and then the decider of Villa if required.
How do you see this series going then? Who can take it? Because I'll roll it back to a few minutes earlier, Demo. You're saying, and I agree with this, MNM have not really had a real test yet.
The Cafe's going to set the tone. I'm looking at Club, and I'm finding it really difficult to see MNM take the win. Not because I don't think they're a bad club team. It's just I've seen MNM have really good club games, but also on the other end of the stick where they haven't played as well on that map. So there is, I wouldn't say there's that consistency with MNM, whereas I think you're going to get that from Liquid every day of the week. You know they're going to be there, ready to play the Clubhouse the way that we expect them to. Very methodical, straight on the money. They see a weakness, they're straight in.
You say very methodical, but we've had methodical teams so far at SI over these 3 days.
Just because of Clubhouse, just as the map, not in terms of the team. Just, Clubhouse is very basic.
No, I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I didn't even know where it's set in. What city, what country? Do you know?
You live in that country.
No, I don't, actually. It's not true. Trivia? No.
Trivia?
What?
No. What's it, Siege?
I mean, look. Liquid MNM could spiral out of control, but I want to talk about, could this be a 2-0? What can MNM do to really show us and show everybody, show themselves more importantly, that, hey, we can keep this going. We will not just bow out to the first kind of more experienced team that we hit.
MNM need to show that they've got that depth now. They need to show that they can do it again, and they can do it against a more seasoned opponent.
How? Who needs to step up?
I think that we just need to see MNM play the same way that they have done. As long as Solotov's doing his thing, as long as User's doing his thing, as long as Nello's doing his thing, they're going to have a good day. I think stylistically they match up quite well against a team like Liquid. Going into the first map, the only small alarm bell that I may have, and this isn't really in Liquid's sort of style, this isn't in their playbook to heavily counter or to heavily strat against a team, but of course we did see MNM already play Kafe against Direwolves. So I'm not sure how much Liquid have felt like they've been able to glean from that, given that they let Kafe come through the first 2 bans that they had. It isn't, again, as I say, it isn't in their wheelhouse to sort of directly go against and counter a team, but it's something that you've got to bear in mind.
Demo, you're focused. I can see that.
Yeah, I
feel you're very torn in this game between 2 teams that you seem to love very much. Both of you.
It's just I love MNM. Always love supporting, always love backing them. But like I said before, it's a big challenge for them. And am I having doubts?
Are you?
I don't know.
About whom?
Just the consistency from MNM, because I feel for this side. Yes, we've seen them have great games. but we've also seen them with bad games. I think we've seen the duality of MNM. And if it's the other, the bad side of MNM where Farty's not there, the head drops. Tyrant went through an entire stage where he just wasn't there.
But it doesn't matter what you did in the year. We're here now.
I know. It's just, I just hope it doesn't creep up. If they play with the confidence, with the happy-go-lucky, carefree spirit that they're all about, yeah, they can cause an upset. Of course they can.
All right. I'm very much looking forward to it. I want to know, because you just said an upset.
I'm every MNM fan, right? Everyone,
what do you say?
Speak for the people.
For the people speak, for the flame, as they would say. But let's see whether the liquid, our water, can douse out the flame, or will it be too hot?
That was very good for
in the kitchen. Thank you very much, Exar Turka and Demo. We're going to toss it then to our casters. It's MNM and Liquid.
Thank you very much, Milos. And the casters aren't MNM and Liquid. No, it's me, and hopefully a little bit of Malleable in a second. Is once again the second day in a row, unfortunately, Hap has fallen ill. So I will have 2 special guests throughout games 2 and 4 throughout the day, and they'll be joining me momentarily. But, as Milos put it so succinctly, a tale of fire and water opposing each other at this point. Let's give a little fuel to the flame, shall we? They're qualified. They're one of only 2 teams, I believe, at this point. That might have changed very late or very early this morning, even that we now have confirmed going forward. MNM, they might get up a bracket, they might go lower bracket, but one thing's for sure, they're not getting grouped. They are through. Liquid, they lost their first day. They came in on a rest day tomorrow, and they joined us now the same way. I am being joined by the wonderful man, the myth, the legend, 12 feet tall, and a voice that suits it, Oli Exartroka.
That's a great introduction, Fluke.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I was working on it.
What a surprise this is.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought it, eh?
Who would have?
You and me.
You and me.
Who'd have thought it?
Who'd have thought it? All the way. Oh, we're on camera now. All the way from...
Oh, you can actually see the start of the pattern as well with this now as well, because this desk's a lot lower.
You make me look a lot shorter than a lot of the other talents. I really like
Yeah. I think shoes would probably help that.
Is this how...
I'll be honest.
Other people cast without shoes on. Don't give away the feet game. Never give feet for free. You're regretting this now.
It's been 30 seconds. I'll be honest, Darren, it's been 30 seconds.
Taking the headset off. Okay, Liquid lost against Sonics on play day 1, but Sonics are looking very scary in this tournament. FaZe Clan lost on the first day as well, and then came back with an absolutely controlling performance against Dark Zero yesterday. So will this be another Latin American return to form? I guess this is going to be a tale told as time passes on. Ying and Nomad, both removed off the board. It's Kafe. It's a bit aggy. It's a little bit confrontational.
It certainly can be, can't it? We were talking there on the desk about how gun skill has a huge part to play, and how a team like MNM, who have been on their form in terms of their gun skill, have been doing quite well. Makes sense to see some more of those operators that can be used to enable aggressive plays removed. The Valkyrie, the Ying.
Good boy, Goya.
Things of that nature. Goya?
That's a first Goya ban.
In the bin. Potentially. Something I should probably know.
Yeah, I mean, I've saved you from the analyst desk.
I'm trying to switch brain at the minute. I'm trying to switch brain profile.
You've got to put it into...
relax.
Would it be a faster gear or a slower gear for guys?
Just put it into relax mode.
Put it in relax mode, put it into reverse occasionally. What needs to be geared up? Nesk. I know you talked about him a little bit on the desk. You said, well, he wasn't quite there. He definitely wasn't there. He was minus 15, I believe, after the first 2 maps. You couldn't have a rougher day at the office.
You really couldn't. One of the Nest stats that really stood out to me was his 9% survival rate.
Yeah.
Which is, for Nesk, pretty shocking. And I just don't know if I have sat there and poked the bear. I don't think Nest listened, I'll be honest. I think he probably had a bit of something going on. He maybe was a bit busy.
He's probably a bit focused on this.
However, metaphorically speaking, I feel like I may have poked the bear. And if he comes out here now and is just the Terminator that we know him to be, could be a bit of a problem.
I think that's sort of the eyes on. You're always going to have eyes on classic players. The same way you'll have eyes on new players. You get a little bit of a back and forth and a mix of that with Nath playing on the role of MNM. There were a lot of conversations about how they were in addition to the roster, what they sort of brought, and map width, map extensions was one of those things. A very clever brain from the UK scene that can bring a couple of different holds. Let's see if they can break them as well. Solace in the top left. If you've missed the first 2 days, she's everywhere.
Also quite banned.
Yeah.
One of our most banned operators on the defense so far.
I think Azami's the most banned, and you'll just, if they're both on the board, you'll see them both pretty much every round.
Kind of surprising to see them both through, right?
Yeah.
Just goes to show the power of Valkyrie, even though the Valkyrie cameras have been reworked. Now you can't throw them outside like you used to be able to on Kafe or any map for that instance. And then, of course, the Goyo as well, just to really enable those late round executes. Speaking of executes, we're seeing a little bit of action here as Solotov gets himself straight in under the cover of smoke, looking to make a bit of a challenge. Nesk feeling the pressure, has the opportunity to back off ever so slightly.
His army going to see how long they can survive. Takes the first fight on the double door, but it just pulls and peels their way back. MNM went full guns blazing there with the glass and the smoke cover. They want to go for the width, but look close left. Oh, he didn't look close left. Palu, he's able to get the head of Solotov off a little bit too late. Those smokes didn't quite buy him the necessity. And there's, a trade back. Users over the top of the bar, gets the player, but it's at a big cost. And Palu's going to see if he can try and double down on that. Swings and pulls back, but 1.5 gone, and they've got a tumultuous bit of damage done inside Bakery.
It's quite an important kill there for Liquid to get. Obviously, they've lost Nesk in the process, but he's playing in that dangerous spot. He's playing where he's just probably going to play his life, play his barricades, and try and waste as much time as possible, and he's done that. There's only around 1 minute and 10 seconds left on the clock. However, on the flip side, you've lost your glass, which is, of course, a big part of using these Capital bolts, using the smokes that you've brought to try and enable and to get a little bit of a push going. And as such, we're just seeing MNM stall out a little bit.
Can they try and push this over the precipice? They don't really have anything driven towards the verticality at this moment in time. So if that turns into a bit of a risk, well, that might be something that comes to bite them in the dying throes of this round. You can see Palu is drifting a bit close, but Capitao has actually gone to try and meet the fight. Rotated up to the top. He's well aware that they need to have cover and make sure they can't get the rotate in. Capcan's aware of that too. They pull themselves around and get the kill as they back themselves. Users pushes pressure into the site at the same time. They're still trying to drive themselves towards getting that kit planted, but with 30 seconds, it has to start culminating in something now.
Tyrant there just going to be holding the flank through into Coat. Doesn't have the fortune of time. User's going to find himself a second. Tyrant getting traded out there 1-for-1. Users actually is in the site now, and Nello's going to get that plant down, but it's going to be a bit too late. Liquid, they may let this plant go down, but they have the numbers to retake. Palu from those red stairs, going to shut him down. He had the angle, he had the info. And Liquid, they've got the first round.
I mean, Palu, if we wanted to have a louder game from some of the star players of Liquid, he didn't have as quiet a game as Ness did. It was kind of a bit of a shakier showing, but still, it's one of the classic guns. It's one of those guns that everybody highlights as one of the ones that, you know, if not now, when? Should they ever ready? Yada yada. Coulda, woulda, shoulda, dida.
Doer.
Nada.
Just do it, Palu.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just get it in there. And
I mean, he's got 4 kills.
I mean,
What more do we want?
almost
really?
opening the round on ace, taking a glass in a fight with smokes. It's that sort of setup here, and you know, it's early doors. It's your first attack onto it. We go to the train room, the hefty machinery swung on the other side, and I, to be honest, I guess more used to EU, APAC North, and whatever, but you don't see this site too often in M&M's sort of usual playing field.
No, it is seen as one of those 3rd/4th, leaning on 4th choice sites. But I guess given with the way that MNM attacked that last round, they're feeling pretty comfortable to go there. MNM went very direct last round. They were looking to brute force their way in off the back of kills and off the back of those entries. But because Liquid were able to trade them out, they never really got that advantage. And then too late on into the round, they go and look for a little bit of something else and get, you know, distracted up in train, have a little bit of a gunfight with Palu. But if you've not done sufficient work vertically, you're always going to struggle to attack in, especially if you're losing out on that trade game. So for me, MNM need to approach this a little bit differently. We need to see more of that full map clear coming in. And Kafe is a very retake-orientated map.
Yeah.
It is expected as a defender that you're not going to be safe in the site that you choose. You tend to hold the periphery, you hold above, you hold below. And that's what you really need to try and play into here as MNM.
Resets on the hunt, and okay, I briefly highlighted how good Solus can be, but to be honest, Kafe is maybe one of the best places. You're looking at quite a narrow route from the bottom to the top. There's a lot of places that she can get in and just cut off any of that instant approach, and also gives them the freedom of the danger of run out. The swing capabilities, whether it's coming out of the door of Bakery on the risk of the double window and going unchecked there, or whether it's on the bottom of White, either way, they have impact, and they have the knowledge they're not being watched. There's the impact. Oh, they're being watched. Sometimes you're just in the right place, and they get the swing on the bottom of White as well. They went for the double, and well, luckily, Liquid were able to somehow pull 2 out of it.
a sort of disconjointed 3-2-1 there going down. Trade's going down 2 for 2 equally. You look what's lost on both sides. You've lost users on the sledge, so with it, a couple of nades have gone by the by. Speaking of, Tyrant, he's able to shut Lagonis down with a nicely well-timed grenade there through that piano window. And that's given MNM the edge back, which, let's be honest, they desperately needed it.
Oh,
but
yeah.
now, when you look at what Liquid have got left, they haven't got anything in terms of denial, but they do have 2 fantastic guns.
They got Nesk, they got Parley. If they have them on their day, they've got the round. Do they have them on their day? I mean, Barlow's 5 kills over the first 2 rounds, and we've still got 3 more potentials ahead of him. They've also got themselves with a little bit of a conjoinment here. It's tough to hold onto this site when you don't really have the manpower to double it down. They've made a backline, but if you're looking into pillars, there's so many places you get swung in from the top end. You can't really dedicate over to that big open space without just getting caught from one of the many different angles. So instead, they've had to do this, formulate themselves around the white stairs, push themselves via the dining room, and hope that the fights that they can take are a little bit more controlled. MNM roll the drones, roll the ideas, and get the hatch broken open, but they're still trying to find these loose threads.
Liquid not really in too much of a position to go looking or searching here. Instead, they have to try and hold themselves down. Information now being exchanged. Nello, bit of a hot drop there in, is able to find the kill and the confirm over onto Palu. Nesk, all that remains, the plant being threatened as it is likely going to start going down. Tyrant knew exactly where Nesk was hiding out there.
That was very clean.
I heard you saying Shaiko, he was in the shop. He was in the middle of shop.
Nice little bit of player comms.
Bit of player comms.
So the mics, I believe, are located in the middle. I think there's one mic on a desk. I remember them talking about it. We saw the request.
I believe you.
We saw the request, Reddit. We saw that you want to hear more of the players, so.
I like it because whenever we're in the analyst room watching everything, everyone's like, shh, 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 as soon as it comes on, because you're desperate to hear the insights and what the players are saying.
Now, obviously, as far as I'm aware, you only speak English.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my first language.
Yeah, it's my first as well.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we cannot really give you any deep insights as to what is being broken down on the guns of Liquid. However, thankfully, there's a lot of different broadcasts and a lot of different languages. So if you are a Portuguese speaker, I'm sure the Brazilian talent and team can give you a little bit more of an insight onto their mics. We know MNM. We can understand most of them.
Just about.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them are from, you know, strange parts of the UK, so it might take us a little bit of
Nello is from the strangest part of the UK, Croatia. It's a little bit further out there, but yeah, it's good. So as we hear them, if you hear us slow down and stop talking a little bit, which I'm sure some of you will be very happy about, we'll listen in and hope they don't swear.
I mean, there's not much we can do about that if they do.
No, we
apologize
cannot
in
do
advance.
anything. If you're worried about swearing, please don't be.
The price we have to pay to hear someone say, you said he was here and he was actually over there.
Ubisoft knew what we're getting into when they put mics on esports desks, especially when you have Canadian
Yeah.
in the tournament. Anyway, Ask still on this role. They haven't had the biggest impact. Obviously, they impacted themselves out of the building last time, but it was just being watched. It wasn't on the back of any intel, more of a, well, they usually do this, so let's be aware of it. That's your prep. And there's your Nesk, taken out by Solotov. The spray over the top. They had him on Whiskey window, and Tyrant was putting the pressure on Piano as well. Pretty easy pick up there from the pair of them. That puts that shield under a lot of pressure. Tyrant gets caught by the run out. It's Ask! Goes on the bottom, was seen by a drone, but all they can see is a little bit of a goodbye.
That is why Solace is banned so often. That is the power of that operator. Not only can you see the drone that the player is on, but you can also see the phone that the player is using to man said drone. Therefore, see the drone, see the player, get an idea. He set all that up for himself. That wasn't even a team-coordinated play. Sure, he got a bit lucky on the second one.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you don't shoot your shot, you never know.
I mean,
Ask has done something to salvage that round and more.
A P90 snap. Them coming back into the game. It's
I
like,
love the P90.
well, MNM don't, that's for sure. After that first little incident, they are at the man disadvantage for generally the first time in a bit of time here. Can they see if they can try and do something with it? Okay, they lost a bit in the first round, but it was all quite sudden. Here, they've got to see if they can try and cook and build behind it without that refrag that they were able to make in the first round. Ask. He's tempted by the fight here onto 90. Solotov's just going to slip his way down white and right into the middle of the freezer, inside the middle of the site, gets dropped by Resets, who then gets picked up by Uses' nade. Again, a little bit of scrappy coordination and slinking its way through, but with 40 seconds, Nello He's going to stack right on the swing of Bathroom. They have the ping on the far end player. They need to try and double up here with Palu holding off on the far end and the other player inside Cigar. MNM, 30 seconds. What's the play?
Something that MNM are going to struggle here is to root these Liquid players out because they've got no other way of shifting them. Nobody can rotate onto those east windows. No one can go below and do anything significant. So it's going to be down on players pushing on through. Users gets a glimpse. It is going to be a 1-for-1 trade. Users, you've got 19 seconds and a chance here to take a brief advantage in this game. He knows exactly where one is, puts the shots down, lands, needs the second. Can he find it? No, Lagona, super shorty at close range is going to be enough. A close round for Liquid, maybe closer than it should have been.
Oh, 100% closer, because there was a bulletproof still up on the back line as well. They had all the reads on where the player was going. They knew that the idea was coming together, swinging in for the fight at the end there with the limit on time. I mean, the grenade came in straight afterwards. So at that point, the player had already loosed it there as well. The swing on Lumber, if that was, I don't want to say it, but a step before, then the legs would have been shot up and they would have got the free kill. And nobody would have stepped again. And, you know, it's those little moments of MNM's early game right now that I think we'll warm up into as we progress further into this series.
It's still an early game for MNM. Still an early game. It might not be 10 AM, but it is still early. Something that made me chuckle in that last round was, I'm not sure if Users had the belief that Solotov was going to get the kill, but I feel if Solotov had got the kill in Freezer, Users' nade would have killed him anyway.
Yeah.
It was just kind of getting the job done at that point.
At that point, if he did get the kill on his army, where does he go?
Yeah.
He has to push into Freezer to be safe from the gunfire that's going to come from the split there. So, yeah, it was a moment. And I guess that's the thing. This is the first round we also don't have Solace as well. But Research is still going to see if he can try and do something a bit sneaky here. Just pulls back.
I do like the fact that Liquid aren't hard picking onto this Solace every single time. We've said that it's so popular and so useful and there's so many fantastic ways that you can implement it, but it's nice to not just solely rely on it. The game has been around a lot longer than Solace has, and there are always ways and means of getting the job done, and you don't want to get too predictable on those jump outs either. That is something that teams will start to cotton onto. Equally, what it has likely done is it has likely slowed MNM down in their approach. And we can see that they've all got themselves up onto the roof this time, or instead of going for a bakery clear, they're going to go for this full map approach, which I think is going to work much better for them.
It's the standard take onto Kafe. It's always the thing that I sort of highlight is there's verticality you got to be aware of. We think of how this round fell apart. It was Palu playing a little bit loose on the red stairs, putting some destruction in, doing a little bit of the heftier work there, and coming out with a 4K by the end of it. If you had put some pressure from above, he wouldn't have been able to rotate up, sure, and he could have been able to slip his way back towards site, but then you have a little bit more of a control. You can force the player. We see Nafe, he's going for the clear onto pillars. There's still some steady work being done elsewhere, and it takes more time, but it just gives you more safety in the grand scheme of things.
This is where the Nomad ban becomes very curious, because if Liquid aren't going to try and roam too heavily, you question why is the Nomad being removed there. Nomads seem to indicate a want and a need to really get out there and get onto that roam. So the fact that they've removed it, it obviously has forced MNM onto a little bit of a different approach. They're going to be going for the Jackal. They haven't actually brought any Claymores. They do have the Gridlock, although that isn't specifically for that flank protection. It can be used as such. It's more often nowadays seen as something that's going to assist you in getting that plant down. Bit of a struggle here, getting open that freezer hatch. The old Cade Claw causing a few problems, just slowing down MNM's approach here, but something that isn't slowed down at all is Users' Skeleton Key. He's only got 5 shots left.
Yeah, he's really getting a full whiff of that, getting sure that the Canadian has all the Canadian stuff spent. One of the things I'm also curious about is there's no C4s on the sides of Liquid. They're not going to try and play against the opener, but the fight is going to be flat inside Code. The first is his, the second is to his right. He didn't quite get the full shot. He almost won it out. Lugonis was just tiptoeing on the other side of the bar as well. There was a player not too far away, just on the swing of the seating behind him. So he was pretty much concerned and cornered, but still suddenly a surprise. And you can see Liquid trying to piece it together and go, okay, we can't have somebody just sort of filter their way through into the site. Nesk, blinded, gonna sit and wait for the drop as the spray comes against. 15 seconds, Nello, you gotta try and take the break there. Nesk is able to pop up and get that kit drop. Users gets one back inside the site, but with that wall entirely locked and with no true way to get through on it, they gotta just try and hot foot it round onto the opposite side. Users, he's not gonna make it in time. He just does. It's a 3 versus 1. Arse just has to make the difference. The impact doesn't quite get the full connection. And MNM just hold on from the top down.
Holy shit. By the way, what is that Milish doing?
I maybe think Nello put it well himself there. That was a heck of a round. You want exciting siege? You want exciting action? Don't go anywhere. Jesus, I have no idea how he made that play in time. The Banshee slowing him down, immediately went to shoot it, and at that point I already felt like the time was 0-0. He then manages to take 4 steps and still get the plant down.
I mean,
it was in no man's land.
Milliseconds was the difference. The fact that obviously that the wall on the back of Frieza was still soft, and you know, they were trying to get themselves into a place. They lost the cover fight on the door as well if the vertical player wasn't there, and the other fight would go, oh, there's just so much there. God, I love Siege. 2-2. MNM, they've been able to get the kitchen back after they lost it the first time round. Can they see if they can, for the first time this game, try and break the deadlock, pull themselves ahead, or will Liquid keep up the trend and get themselves at least a level half?
Not a lot separating these two teams at the moment. As you mentioned there, all square. The way that I see this going, I think we're going to be here for a while.
Oh, yeah.
We had a fairly quick morning.
Yeah, I've like pulled you in now.
Yeah.
Welcome to this side.
Welcome. Yeah.
It's like the, I guess maybe it's just like the English thing. You know, Tim and Des, they always get a 3-map overtime.
They haven't had one yet, have they?
Not yet.
I don't think so.
I don't know if usually it's if Medics is observing them as well.
Oh, is that the trifecta?
Yeah, as we said, Croatia is a distant part of England.
Yeah.
I don't know if Medics is observing this. If he was, I'm sure he'd be saying...
I think he'd have done the signatory spin by now.
He would be saying angry things down my headset. No. The fight over the top. MNM. They were quite good at catching the snappy rotations that came out of the runouts before resets. Is the one that's going to be holding and holstering that powerful P90 as Nesk. They have a kill. And they have a death. Traded out once again, still unable to really get their teeth into SI 2023 yet.
Where is Nesk? I'm going to keep coming back to it. 1-5 right now. Solitos seems to really have his number, especially in that entry and opening engagement. Lagonis, however, is going to find one back onto Nath. So any logic bomb phone calls that you were hoping to use to give you a little bit of a heads up and really give you that advantage in terms of hearing and psyching out your opponents is no longer going to be an option. Toxic Babe canisters already getting used quite quickly, and Lagonis has spent all 3 before the halfway point in the round.
Now, can he hold on for any longer? You're looking at a fight over the top. You're looking at that control that I've talked about, the importance here on Kafe, the forcing of these players further and further away, just into positions where they're not comfortable holding. It's this rotate that comes through from Liquid to stop that. They can have a backline here, watching over to the A site from the white stairs. You have some solid and some awareness of the motions. It's the other side that's a little bit tricky. With what has been taken from above them, they're going to start cracking their way down, you assume, from the side of red, as Tyrant just watches this, the fireplace rotate. Make sure nobody can get directly in. The player, singularly locked inside the train, is really the only direct counter right now outside of a wide swing onto pillars. So you assume MNM has some awareness there as well, but look at resets. The slow potential creep up the bottom of the stairs, watching the angle under the window, and well, he might be a fly trap ready to eat.
Of course, on Solace as well, so does have that potential to use the gadget, figure out exactly what's going on, any droners, anyone using a gadget, even if a plant is going down. So always to be mindful of that the value is throughout the entirety of the round. Soltov going to come to blows here and find an easy one onto Lagonis. Just catches him looking the other way, has some fortunate timing, but can now look to try and pre-fire on and to further that advance in through dining.
15 seconds, and they've got to start trying to break this into the 2 versus 4 advantage that it is in their favor. MNM, Palu holding off on the edge for the rotate. They're going for the plant on the opposite site, though, and as one of them slips their way through, it's just sit, wait, watch, and get this done. Resets. He's going for the planter, but he's a little bit too late. You can see that via the gadget, but now the only thing you can see is a 3 versus 1 and a rough 36 seconds at the top middle of his screen, and doesn't see that for very long. Almost the clutch in the play. You think about how we were out of time on that round. The Solus could have defined it, but doesn't.
You see a Solace, you see 1 impact left, and they're below, and you think, that's the play. That's exactly what Liquid were going for there. It puts so much pressure onto that single player. Resets had everything to do there because his team was not in a position to stop that plant from going down. As we've already mentioned, you play retake on Kafe. That's what you have to do. You have to play retake. So if you're going to commit somebody below, unfortunately for Resets, wasn't able to get it done in time, and he did let that plant go down. Still, MNM 3-2. There is a chance here for Liquid to square things up equal at the half.
You find yourself on Kafe, it's MNM's map pick. It's not the worst one for Liquid, it's a great one for the region. I'd still sort of highlight maybe last year's SI, maybe even the year before, that we really got a true taste of how this map can be developed, the tapes.
Yeah, it was as soon as Consulate was removed.
Yeah.
As soon as Consulate was removed, all the LATAM teams were just like, we need something with loads of windows. We can jump out.
Kafe.
We got to Kafe.
Okay. And it can be great. And here, I think, with what they've got on their defense, we talked about the power of Solus, we talked about the power of his army. You know, there is functionality in what the defenders can do here. And I think if Liquid... Excuse me. I think if Liquid...
Sounds like you need to drink some liquid.
I do need to drink some liquid. I have a bottle of water by my feet. If they don't get the even half here, I think it could spell some challenging attacks.
Especially given that we always pick Kafe as a map that is difficult to attack.
Yes.
Not necessarily attacker-sided, that obviously depends region by region, but attackers are made to work for every round on Kafe. Now, MNM currently in the driver's seat there with 3 rounds of their own. If they're able to make that 4, it could be quite meaningful here in this matchup. Slow start. Usually we're seeing a little bit of action inside of this first 50 seconds to 1 minute, but this time, everyone keeping themselves alive. Solotov is usually a player to keep a close eye on as he gets himself onto repels. This time it seems like he's taking a more alternate approach, as we're seeing a little bit of a stack up over toward the east side. Now, Solotov's going to be playing the Nook this time, so he's going to be on backstab duties from below. Previously, when MNM attacked this top floor, they really struggled to root the players out of this cocktail side. East was a big problem. They didn't have anyone on that east repel. They lost man count early and were unable to really affect, as the defenders could just retreat further and further back. This time, they're going a little bit more direct.
Minute 30 passed, and all 10 players still on the board. It's maybe the longest that we've had this as of yet. They're trying to dig themselves underneath the hatch. They have some of the watch on the default skylight. They're hoping a pinch comes towards that player that asks can sort of sweep up here from behind the side of the pillars unchecked. But we did see a Nook that was going on a bit of an adventure elsewhere, and if Solotov is able to find their way towards pillars, well, that can be big. Hey, remember, Solus can see a Nook when they're using their gadget. There's calls, there's trades, there's a bit of motion, and there goes the Nook underneath the push, and the pressure comes onto the back end. Nafe is able to find Nesk. There it is. Solotov gets the impact as Palu does catch Nafe, and at least buys one back, but Solotov still driving underneath, gets Lagonis, the second player, pushes his way up the white stairs with resets, caught at the end, and MNM, if you wanted a good 3-2-1 go, well, they just demonstrated it.
What? No. I was whipping so bad. Fucking hell.
If you need a translation from Nafe's accent, he's whiffing so bad, bleeping hell.
I'm gonna play Mosian High. I'm gonna play Mosian High. Do that one.
You're from Nate's part of the woods, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I think he's from East London and I'm from West.
Oh, okay.
So...
Bit of rivalry there somewhere.
Not really. I mean, there's more of a rivalry between, like,
North and south.
same bits of London. Yeah,
Right.
above the river, down below the river. East and east, they'll hate each other. It's where your football clubs are.
Right.
It's you know, that's the sort of make or break of friendships in London. Yeah, you're not going to have a Chelsea and a Tottenham fan in the same room. Not that I'm a fan of either, but...
I do enjoy listening to Nate talk. He has got a bit of a way with words, but yeah, obviously not feeling himself on his shot so far today. Still 4-on-4, not doing terribly. The big playmaker in that round, though, was of course Solotov.
Yep.
And Nate, while he may have whiffed a few shots, he was playing on the Dokkaebi. And guess what enabled all of those calls and all of those kills? It was the Dokkaebi call. All you could hear whenever we were flicking onto a player cam, regardless of which side it was the phone call ringing, and that is just such a huge audio cue that these players will use to root those defenders out. Liquid getting caught out there, losing out on an equal split here on the defense. They've given themselves some really hard yards to do now here, as they've got to go out on their attacks and perform.
As we said, you kind of wanted the even half there for Liquid. Not that it's impossible to attack this map, but this map does not make it easy, and I'm still going to double down on the idea that having the Azami is one thing that's going to make it more problematic. Do like, you know, we saw Solotov go towards the Mozzie, bring that in. It was the last bit of conversation we were able to pick up to control the drone game, limit what can be put against them. They're not going to run with the Solus. For all that she can bring, it's always down to the team what they feel comfortable bringing, and to be fair, it's, as you said, been banned quite a lot, so there's more than one way to crack an egg, and the egg being a drone in this. If you weren't up to pace with my egg drone-based analogy.
I'm glad that you clarified, I'll be honest. I wasn't sure where we were going with that one. Drone is something that Liquid are struggling with at the moment. They've only got 6 left. They've only seen around a minute, so they have spent quite a few so far. And of course, the Mozzie isn't going to help matters there either. Nesk there just losing out one of his nades. As we can see, the firebolts from Capitao just dissipating there as Nath is able to keep himself alive, but only just. The magnets will regenerate over time, but he's not going to be worried about that as he's getting pushed here and caught looking the wrong way. Resets finds one, Nesk a second. Solotov now trying to pick up some pieces, but he too gets caught out. Liquid, they are sweeping through this top floor.
That was so sudden. They threw the grenades and moved in right behind them. Users does get one more as the pressure starts to come its way down towards it, but that was very, very well played there. As we said, we saw the sort of barrage of grenades. The drop came on the hatch and the skylight at the same time, with the fight sort of pinching out the player. Nave tried to swing into one of them, but as he saw, didn't quite expect the second. However, you've got the vertical. It's a big part of reading. Now you can clear yourself up with some control around Pillar's door and just try and eke that plant in on the door itself. That is what they're trying to get done here, and that is what they're going to start focusing on. Forcing the players further and further away, so they're not confident to swing it. They can't quite long arm some of it. You've not really got anything they can long arm with at this moment in time. They obviously didn't bring the smoke, and the C4 was used, so how are MNM going to stop this?
They're going to have to play this one quite close to their chest. Lagonis looks like he's going to be making his way in, gets a glimpse of a player, just rotating on, gets the glimpse of the second and will be able to land. Jesus, what a shot onto Lagonis, keeps himself alive, but only momentarily. Neski started the round and he is going to end it, picking up that final kill. Nesk on attack, is that the buff that we needed? Because he didn't do much on defense.
I mean, if it's the buff he needs, it's what he needs. You always want to see Nesk perform. It's no two ways. If you're a fan of Siege, you're a fan of Nesk. You sort of have the two as synonymous. And it's like if you buy a ticket to go see PSG play, you want to see Messi score a goal. Otherwise, you're like, come on, pull it out. Sort it out.
Do the thing.
Do the thing. Like,
do the thing, mate.
That's what the capability is. And I'm sure I've incised parts of chat is saying, Nesk is Messi? Is that a comparison? I don't care. It's my comparison I made.
I think there's an argument.
There's definitely an argument. Who's the CR9 then? No, okay. I'm not going to go down that because that will incite arguments in the chat. No, 3-4, Liquid, a good attack. As I said, I loved the play behind the grenades on the top. It's how you take that top is with a sort of smash and grab energy.
5 seconds.
Look at the 6 picks coming through here from Liquid as well. Obviously, either not anticipating the kitchen or making a last-second change. Going to be bringing a Flores, dropping a Book, dropping an Ash, and bringing an IQ. Obviously, the IQ seeing a little bit of a soaring pick rate, given that the defenders have essentially got an IQ of their own in Solace. It isn't going to do too much here in terms of electronics, as there aren't that many knocking around. You can, of course, highlight and target those mute jammers, which from above could be a good idea. In the meantime, we're just going to hear those Flores drones ripping off in the distance, removing the deployable shield just on the side of Christmas Tree as Nella takes a good chunk of damage here. He's going to have to open the hatch and drop himself back. Of course, for all the roaming and for all the presence that he's had on that side of the map, it is leaving a large gaping hole in the defense.
Yeah, it makes things a bit awkward. As we've said many, many times, when you're trying to get this vertical control, you're sort of hoping you can waste as much time as possible. Here, with the damage they've done, with Parley pressured where he is, about a minute's passed, and, well, so have all the players. They've moved themselves on. MNM have pulled themselves back down. They're otherwise structured with the hatch open as well. That, for a lot of teams, is a lot of busy work. Hey, remember when we saw that on an MNM attack, where they had about 2 seconds? Because of getting that hatch open, getting that control, it just gives Liquid a little bit more to work with. And as they proved in the previous round, they're more than happy to take those motions into their own gameplay. The pressure will start to come across the floor, pillars, and the second story becomes the first, becomes eyes to the side.
Located by attackers.
Slowly but surely, Liquid starting to take this mid-map control and do a little bit of renovation work, getting some of this floor open, breaching charges, hammers, anything you can really throw at ripping open that floor and making the defenders feel uncomfortable. It is going to force the defenders just to the periphery of the site. Nello has got himself tucked in, doesn't have a great deal of health to speak of, and is really just playing for one player, dropping that hatch. Could be about to get stunned out here as Warden could be required there in that position, but Lagona's just going to think better of it for the time being. There's still a good amount of time left here for Liquid to make something happen. Toxic Babe canisters now, just to slow this hatch a little bit, as we see nades cooked from above, but neither are far enough to do the lick of damage that is required. A drop comes through from a clone. Nello quickly on it. That's only an aim trainer for what is to come. More nades getting sent down through this hatch, but they aren't reaching their mark. Liquid, they are getting so tunnel vision here on dealing with this one player, and now Solotov's made it into the fray. He's activated the glasses and he is ready to strike. Picks himself one. Nesk did trade out onto Nello, and we'll find a second. He's going crazy inside of the site here, but where's the kit? It's cold on the ground. There are still 3 members alive here for MNM. Is Nesk going to do a Usus and manage to save this round? Pre-fires on through into Christmas, but he's getting pushed from pillar and post. Nate finds one. Tyrant a second. The plant's going to go down, but it's going to be too late. It will likely be confirmed, but there is more than enough man count here for MNM. Ness comes off at the last second, knowing what is becoming him.
A little bit of Nello there. Survived 4 grenades. 4 grenades with like 10 HP, and then died to the drop that came through there. Tech timeout is being called by Team Liquid now for a little bit, and fair enough, because things aren't really going so swimmingly as you said. They were so blinkered into the play. Solotov, perfect place for a man with glasses that can see through the smoke, putting the kit in the corner. A huge pick. I don't speak Portuguese. I don't.
There'll be someone that does. In the chat, I mean.
Chat, translate.
You can tell a lot by the tone.
Are they saying it's Kagan time? Is that what the translate?
Well, they're going to have to start saying something, because Liquid at the moment, not playing to the full potential.
No.
They haven't got that killer instinct, they haven't got that bite. And when was the last time we saw Liquid so hell-bent on one idea and one idea only? I can think back, and it was a couple of years ago. It was in a much more structured, a much older Liquid, before they got a little bit more fluid and a little bit more creative in their ideas. Now, there are many ways to attack into that bakery. One of them is to drop the freezer hatch, but it needs to come with something else.
We'll take a moment here to sort of, I guess, see the positives in what Liquid's doing. Is that Nesk has definitely started to grow into this. I think 4 of his 5 kills, I think, have come over the past 2 rounds. And that is a huge sign. You need that because you look over to the other side and who's popping off, but literally the parallel on the screen uses 12-4. He is a player that is terrifying when they pop off and get into it. Nello, sure, playing that support role. They survived 4 grenades. They're the reason that the push took so long. If we talk about that time being handed to them, he sure made up for it in just surviving. So much utility.
That's one of the reasons why I just love Nello as a player.
Yeah, that's what he needs to do.
Thankless tasks.
Yeah.
1 and 6. What is the reason that MNM won round 8?
Yeah.
And has been the reason they have won previous rounds in this game as well.
Every stack needs a Nello. Ours is Tim.
Reloading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. Every stack needs a Nello.
Every stack needs a Nello. It also helps if every stack has a Usus as well. 5-3. MNM, can they try and push themselves onto map point? I'm quite curious to see what resets does. As I said, sometimes smash and grab is a real good bit of energy for clearing that top floor, and they're in the perfect smash grab position. They just need the right call to come through at the right time, and then suddenly they can swarm their way over the back line of the top floor and force that player into a fight that might be a little bit uncomfortable for them.
MNM are playing a really sort of passive playstyle at the moment. They've got both a Solace and a Pulse, so they're really looking to allow these players to come in above resets. He's going to actually Gyro hook onto Nello. You don't get to see that every day. I tell you, that's some of the timing that Tim would suffer as well.
Yeah.
Really unfortunate. Ask is going to be traded back. Looks as though Nace got himself in a nice spot here. He is just waiting for the right time to pounce. I don't think that anybody knows he is just tucked in here.
I cannot believe we've just had a Gyro hook kill in the tournament. That is surely the first.
First ever. First one I've seen.
At a major, maybe even.
It was only the symbol.
Spencer,
yeah.
Stats All right, 5-3, and they've got themselves a bit of ground here. One apiece. There was an important fight that we didn't truly comment on that was asked. That was down at Pillar's doorway. That was one out. Nafe, do they know? Yes, is the answer. Ness gets the swing round, saves the life for Lagonis, who was tucked on the corner. You just saw there, Ness drone must have got the swing on the player, and well, it could have been defining. What it does define now is the verticality has fallen into the favor. The spray comes against Tyrant. He's just going to slip and slink his way a little bit closer towards the possibility of the engagement and hide behind the one bit of solid that this wall really has, which is that pillar.
Tyrant needs to be crafty here, and he's one of the better players positionally for my money. He has actually got himself in a really nice off angle here, but he's going to lose the engagement. Recess with the swing there, finds himself yet another, and the plant will start to go down. Solotov, he gets downed in action himself. Users might find himself one here, but is unlikely to do much more as the final couple of kills come through, and Liquid, they respond. That timeout working wonders for him.
I mean, off the back of a Gara kill, I still love that that happened. Do you know what I've observed in my 3 days casting this tournament? I've now seen a Gara kill, and I've seen Grim. Equally likely.
Two things that just shouldn't happen.
2 things that you don't expect to see in a tournament. One in a piece. Yeah, I mean, as you said, you need to win the round after a timeout. There's nothing more demoralizing than taking a timeout and losing the immediate round afterwards. I think a team that's really good at this, at breaking that game, is BDS. If there's ever a tag timeout and BDS are on a defense, what you'll notice is they change the site that they were going to hold because they're like, they expect this, let's throw everything to the wind. And just little moments like that are like, okay, that's a good mindset. But it's a very important thing, as I said. We've got a couple of changes. The Lion and the Dockerby are in position now, maybe to try and curtail and control the loose thread play. They're the team that banned Nomad, so they've got to come up with an alternative to limiting MNM.
MNM are playing really well into the Nomad ban as well. You saw where Nath was positioned inside of Piano last round. That isn't something that you would necessarily get away with if there was a Nomad on the board, because you would expect the flanks to be a little bit more heavily held. Now, with the Dokeby coming through, Dokeby, again, by the way, is something that we have seen a tremendous ban rate for throughout the course of SI so far. Hiding in a little corner just isn't going to be as possible. Solotov, he misses out on a chance there at an opening engagement. Lion Scan isn't going to do too much to concern him, as he can just dip himself back and keep himself alive. Yeah,
he's out of there. He's taking the long route round, and as we said, if one focus is coming out from this setup, it's control of those loose players. They actually played a little bit of gridlock in the previous round, but we didn't really hear too much of the ka-chunk, because to be honest, when it came to it, everyone was already dead. So you're sort of still trying to structure the pairing, once again, the control of the space with his army, with the Solus. They're making sure that they've got to try and find these players, and Solotov's going to long out the fight for as long as possible. What he hopes here is somebody goes on the camera on those windows or gets close, but they just keep doing this. Pings, pops, IQ with the peppered shots. Remember, they're the one person who can see Solus.
I love the interchange between all these different operators now. It's like, we're going to give him a Dokeby call, then I can see him on the scanner, then I'm going to try it because he can see me if I'm on the scanner. There are so many little mini games that get played now, and it makes you really got to think and really got to provide a little bit of teamwork to get things like that done. Solotov, fortunately for him, gets away without a lick of damage. And Liquid, they've spent a good deal of time as well, getting ready for a bit of a hop-in now, as we can see the player just getting into the top of Lumber there. That player is going to be Nesk. Immediately gets taken out by Tyrant as he finds himself two. Users adds on to the pain before Resets does anything. Lagonis, he's a hot drop and a desperate attempt here as Resets, he's got himself into a real sticky spot. Does eventually shut down Solotov, but Lagonis, he's got a hard engagement up ahead of him. No information, doesn't know the player's tucked in there into the freezer, and that player is going to be Nello with the Alder. Still a ton of time left here.
That's it. The shots across the bow, they give the statement where he is. Users gets reset down white, and now it's just Lagonis. He's in a bit of a scrappy engagement. There's a rotate coming around behind him towards Cigar, I believe, but it's not necessary. MNM, they push themselves onto map point. What do they say?
He was like 30 HP, by the way. 70? No, he wasn't 70. He was 30 HP.
You know it's going well when they're arguing about how many HP someone is. You called him at 70, he was 65.
God, sort out.
What are you playing at? We're at SI, for goodness sake.
If you don't have stack synergy on numbers called out, no, it's good to see. I had a couple of questions of how that you were sort of going by it. When Nesk swung in onto white, it was like he was oblivious to anybody that was in Pixel Corner. And that just turned into a free kill on the pickup there. And, you know, the Azami barricades had been thrown inside towards Whiskey just moments before. They were watching from that window. They had the impression a player was there, and you just wonder what the slip through was. Maybe they expected to fight elsewhere. Unfortunately, we don't truly know the test. What we do potentially have is maybe the first running of Sens today.
Then we really will have seen everything.
Oh, if Sens gets a kill.
10 seconds remaining.
Is that
Okay, no. It's not that. It's if. Oh, I didn't get Sens. If Sens is played and their gadget goes off how it's supposed to.
In the direction.
In the direction that you intended to throw the gadget, that's how you know. That's like the third. This is like fresh to this bingo. This is impossible bingo. Bingo where no one's a winner.
Bingo level impossible.
Okay. What can we do from this point onwards? We start to have now a Liquid with their backs against the wall.
It's not looking good for Liquid, is it?
No.
MNM did a fantastic job on their attacks, and it all circles back to that for me. MNM did such a great job at getting that advantage, getting that 4-2 split. It's put the pressure on from the word go, because if this had been 3-3, would have been very, very different moving into what could be the final round here. Liquid going to be attacking onto this kitchen again, going for a very similar approach. As we see the Flores drones come through to remove some of those deployable shields. It is quite similar to the last time. However, one of the adaptations is they've not got a book or a sledge this time.
No, they are missing some of that control above, but it seems like they might want to direct line themselves closer in. The smoke starts to pop off, the movement behind it. Ness gets Solotov on the first swing. Tyrant under huge pressure, but wins it out. The Flores drone and the Nook themselves cement the kill. Huge dedication towards lifting that player out from the bar side and forcing it into a more uncomfortable situation. Liquid, they've driven themselves in on the ground floor. They are way more focused on this. Let's just put the pressure directly to the site. Let's not play around with their games that happen all the way across the board and instead sort of go, this is where we need to be. Let's be there. Use us. Maybe the only stopping force for now is just going to stop the force and pull himself back.
Nades coming down this freezer hatch once again. Where have we seen this before? No more nades left.
Unfortunately, too long.
I mean, fortunately for Liquid, there's no nades left. So they have to come up with an alternate plan this time.
Oh no.
They can't just try and tunnel vision onto that.
Again.
But they do need to do something, because for all that they've got a man count advantage here, there are still some very craftily positioned players for MNM. We look at Nate's position, a little bit offside, Users, he's ready to get active. You can see he's itching, and more importantly, there's still 2 C4s alive. Bit of info trickling through here now for Users. Doesn't want to give too much of the game away, or get himself in too much of a hefty engagement, but he might just do that as he takes a ton of damage through the hatch.
Oh, it's so close. Everybody is itching for an engagement, as he said. So much like just shoulder peeking and jiggling out with Nafe getting asked, puts us into the 3 versus 3, the blinds and the pressure, and suddenly it's MNM! Blinked and missed. MNM positioned in a place to sort of say, this is our kitchen, and the only thing being cooked up is a healthy serving of marshmallows and pain.
Fantastic job there from MNM. I said that there were some craftily positioned players and specifically called Nath out there at the back of Wedding. What a great job of just keeping himself offside, out of mind, and bang, in the right position at the right time. Might have whiffed a few shots earlier on, but he hit them when it mattered there and then.
We'll go to a quick break before we're back with a breakdown and map 2.
I'm Nicholas Morton, but you know me as Pingu. I'm a 2-time Rainbow Six Siege World Champion and former top Rainbow Six Siege player in Pro League. Welcome to my Siege Ranked Bootcamp. We're talking 20 seconds left on the clock, you got the diffuser in hand, what do? Play the way that you're comfortable with, because you have confidence when you're in this position. That is when you're gonna be at your very best. Good luck.
and welcome back here to the showdown. MNM versus Liquid. MNM have just taken their map Kafe, and me, Fluke, and my good buddy Ollie, Exartroika, are going to see if Liquid can take Club back.
It is time for Liquid to stand up and be counted. They had a very slow start to the tournament back in day number 1 against the Sonics, and I don't think anyone wants to see them have a second slow day here. They obviously had a rest day yesterday, so there's no excuses coming into this one. They knew what they were going up against in MNM, and we are going to be headed into Kafe shortly. Quick recap for if you missed it on how Kafe went. You can see MNM 7 rounds to 4. MNM doing a fantastic job on their attacks, Fluke.
I mean, you couldn't fault them. Obviously, it's their map. It's the place they wanted to be in. They led in well. They sort of got themselves off to such a solid start. If it was an even half, I sort of called it earlier on, we probably would have seen a bit more of a taste, a closer game. I still think it would have eked into MNM's favor, but it sort of gives the idea that Liquid aren't entirely done yet, especially Nest popping off in the second half. Am I drinking a big old glass of liquid copium? Maybe. Maybe I am, and it's down to them to sort of prove it otherwise here because, well, Club, it's their map. Everybody knows it. Oh, wait, everybody knows it. So do MNM. It's going to be a much tighter game.
MNM have already played Clubhouse as well inside of this competition, and they've already been successful on it. Speaking about Liquid, speaking about copium, I like my liquid copium with marshmallows on the top. I am firmly on the fence here inside of this matchup. Either team for me could take it, but I want to see the team that deserves it the most win. And so far for me, that team is MNM. They have done a cracking job really disabling Liquid in Kafe. Liquid couldn't step foot without making some sort of a mistake, and MNM were there to capitalize on it.
What happens to marshmallows on hot liquid?
The marshmallows melt.
We gotta see what happens. We got. I'm thinking of the way. I mean, I think they would melt on cold liquid anyway, but we'll ignore science for now. Where we are going, science doesn't exist. I mean, there's people with magical glasses. There's a guy with a sledgehammer in this game. Science isn't real. Neither is Ying. Banned. The first removal in this showdown.
I love how you pick the guy with the sledgehammer as being like, that's one of the most practical things that we have in this entire game. You've got people that can see through walls, and the sledgehammer's the magical thing.
Don't think they're real. Prove me wrong.
I mean, this one here is playing for
exactly.
ultimately.
It's a special sledgehammer.
Dokkaebi removed as well as Amira. Still very common and popular bans here throughout Six Invitational so far. And the Valkyrie for good measure. MNM really not wanting to play against that Valkyrie. Of course, we've already commented that with the way the bans are going, it is leaving things like Solace available.
Well, let's see if it affects the play that we have ahead of us this time, MNM. They'll be starting on their defense. We might get a little bit more of the second half story that we had before. Will that work for preference? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Will the background be a buff?
The Undertaker background?
The Undertaker background on one of them. Everyone else's defaults.
I think Users plays with that quite a bit.
Do you like wrestling?
No, I know someone that does, though.
Okay. If you could have, I guess, the follow-up question was if you could have any wrestling other skins, who'd you have? But I guess...
My favorite wrestler was Rey Mysterio.
I would love a Rey Mysterio skin. But I want Rey Mysterio on, like, Kavera.
That'd be cool. And it'd fit as well.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, enough about what we want. Let's go what the audience wants, which is a church and basement hold here. If you are brand new to Siege, if you're very unfamiliar, hey, welcome, what's up? This is quite a wide site, and you might be surprised to see nobody's really there right now. Well, there's a lot of structural work to do on the second 2 floors, and what you might even see on the top floor is a lot of players. You'll sort of waste as much time up here as possible, trickle your way down, and push and push and push and push. You need to limit the amount of resources they have, and also, preferably, the amount of players and time before they actually try and impact the site itself. That's why you've got Solotov playing himself just around CC. That's why you've got Tyrant up here above Oil Pit and Entrance. How are Liquid going to approach this?
I'm already worried about Liquid's approach, because I'm seeing a Monty in the lineup. Now, the Panic Monty is something that we like to call out, and we often see at the end of a game or when things aren't really going too well. Talking about things that aren't going too well. Users, you can't just stand in the middle of a doorway, my friend. Ask, he's going to find him and shut him down quite quickly. Ask will spend 2 Selmas to open up that east wall. That is how much of a priority Liquid are putting on this roam game. Solotov, he's going to get himself into a bit of a scuffle here as well. Maybe gets out of it, maybe doesn't. 1 HP. He's thinking about going for the repeat here, but instead trickles himself back down to site.
I think that's why he kind of wanted the repeat, because running down blue, there are little angles that you can get caught on by, and you don't really want to turn your back to a fight. It's also awkward to have to backpedal. You still have more to work with. Talking of, there's a lot to work with here. Nello gets Nesk, though. Cuts the head off. Any support going with the Monty, and Monty just has to back on out of there.
Oh, I know. We'll play the Monty behind another player that's in front of the Monty. This is like shield play 101. Play your shield at the front. You don't want to play a man at the front. You want to play the shield at the front. That's giving himself away for free there, which is a big shame because MNM were struggling a little bit. You look at the HP, you look at the fact they've already lost users, it's a big problem.
Well, they look like they're about to lose someone else. The ping's there on the player. They're blinding their way around the corner. They know where they are. They just want to get the confirmation, the movement, the lock-in, the fight over the side of the bike. Do they truly get it? There's Azami. Can they get one out of this? Surely not, no. Oh, Tyrant. I mean, if they were able to strike there, it would have been a 1 in a million, unfortunately for them. Liquid had the number already written down. A minute, 2 bodies gone, Solotov almost 3, but they've done the job that I talked about. Just a little bit shakier than maybe they wanted it to be.
This roam game has been severely punished.
Yep.
MNM have got barely anything left here, save a couple of Vulcan canisters, wherever they may be. They've no C4, they have no smokes, and they haven't got full HP on anybody bar Nello. So there is a lot of pressure about to come their way, and this is where the Monty is going to come into its own. Lagonis, he can move forward, gather that information. Solotov not feeling safe in blue as Resets makes his way down those main stairs, and Ask is already kicking things off.
The fight down the main corridor as well leaves just Nello alone. 4 versus 1. They still have pocket utility. They have a shield planting, and they have the watch on any of his way out. And now the read 2. That was only going to be Liquid filling the receptacle in front of them, which, to be honest, was kind of an empty sight by the end of it.
That isn't the MNM we saw on Kafe.
No.
And likewise, it isn't the Liquid we saw on Kafe. Thank goodness. They are here and they are ready to play, kicking things off there with a great attacking round.
Sorry, that was program feed. That was funny.
You didn't like the cinematic of...
No, I thought it was very cool because it was like, it was a bit out there.
We're getting another fly through, just in case anyone wonders.
Fly through of like... That's the next operator. It's like the director. Anyway, no, you're entirely right. MNM, that wasn't really like the MNM that we saw. It wasn't really like the Liquid that we saw, but, you know, it is first round, it's early doors. Liquid in the earlier game, I think, looked sharper than MNM. They're able to get a couple of surprise strikes. There was defense and attack on a different map, okay, but still, you have to look at how teams warm up into maps as well as the series as a whole. If coming off the back of the round loss and the map loss previously is something that drives Liquid now throughout Clubhouse, their pick, I mean, they keep up this pace and tenacity. It's going to be really tricky for MNM to get into the same gear that they managed to get into in the previous map.
I think one thing that goes in a fortunate way for MNM is it was a bit out of pocket the way that they played that last side.
Yep.
They could have played it very differently, and they chose to play a little bit aggressively. They've moved off. They've said, you know what, we're not going to give it another go down in the basement. We're instead going to switch upstairs to what is now the second choice site. Second or third, depending on bar and stage, but mostly second, gym and bedroom. And they are going to be bringing a bandit for their troubles. Nello, he's got a bit of electrification knocking around on that jacuzzi, but it's going to be users to kick things off, removing the Maverick.
Did he just swing the breach as it got popped open? I don't know if that was out behind, down there. No, I'm not entirely sure.
Long gone.
Long gone. So, shot so hard he's off the map. That's the only thing I can assume was a swing out this way, but still, with that wall popped open, they have the control, and now, as you said, they've lost the Maverick, a man who has seen a lot of a drop-off recently, ever since he lost his grenades. There's changes to his guns, the attachments that have made him absolutely lightning. Very, very frightening. There it goes. Your breach charge there, lightning itself, stepping up on the character who declares this a home.
That's one of the big no-nos, getting bandit tricked in 23.
Yep.
That is not something that we expect top-tier teams to be suffering. Nello, he is going to fall as he is taken out by Ask. Ask pays the ultimate price there to remove that ability to bandit trick, but I think one bat trick does still remain. Ness going to be able to find one as Lagonis doubles down. Tyrant, he's going to be inside of the site, hopped up on the bed. Liquid, they might not be winning the utility game, but they are certainly winning the numbers game at the moment. Trying to replace those Kiba barriers as quickly as they are being destroyed. Still, fortunately, has a couple of castle barricades to provide a little bit of safety, but they too are going to start falling. Tyrant, the pressure really is mounting onto this player, and his pockets of safety are becoming far fewer. He is, of course, joined here by Solotov, who does still have 2 canisters, but what can he do for a whole minute?
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite of how things started to tweak before, where they had nothing to work with. Now they actually have a lot, but making things connect is tricky, especially with this. The fight up Paolo on the back stairs, lost because the drop and the rotate there. A great idea from the Azam. He has to wait, though, for the clarity to come back through, but they have an impact, and they might cause one just underneath. They're looking for where the plant goes down. They're waiting as the pings come together. However, 30 seconds, if Solotov goes down, this becomes a disaster. Where's the man? Where's the player? Wrong corner, and now behind the castle, it's a post-plant situation in the smoke. Seconds too late, and 40 seconds with all of the tides turned onto the opposite side. Lagonis tucked in the close corner, hoping a fight swings wider and wider. They've got to see if they can try and at least pinch some of the ground. There's the first, the 2 versus 1. But time ticking away, and Lagonis bringing it back round, aggressively pushes outside the castle that got popped open with Solotov, having to make the distance and getting the defuse. It's ring around the rosies, but it's not a game anyone wants to play. There's the swing, there's the take, and they will have enough time to get the kit and a first round.
What a clutch. What a great clutch you love to see any team pull off. Solotov. I was very critical of the Toxic Babe canister timing. I was internally screaming, why have you got a Toxic Babe canister and why haven't you thrown that under the door 20 seconds earlier? Because that would have stopped all of your worries here inside of this round.
It would have.
Fortunately for Solotov, he's a bit of a demon with the SMG-11, so it doesn't really matter. Lagonis may have got the plant down, may have got one, but couldn't find the second. MNM holding on there, and in part it was due to some of the hard work that Nello was doing at the start of the round. Again, we come back to this player who sits there at 1 and 2 on the scoreboard. Looks like little contribution. All right, we've seen 2 full rounds, but the bandit trick, it was massive. Kept himself alive, really caused Liquid quite the headache, and it forced Liquid to play very aggressively to clear out those players, and they just got a little bit too deep behind enemy lines.
CCTV was the third site they actually cycled between. You guys don't get the full taste of seeing the lobby, but we do, and I kind of understand why. It is a tricky hold. For a lot of regions and a lot of teams especially, it's become a 4th choice because it's tricky. You have guaranteed things usually getting opened. You got a Thatcher on the board as well. There is no way that those hard walls should stay locked unless there is some huge comedy of errors that would cause otherwise. Then it becomes a pretty standard push when you've still got the options of grenades and lobbing them over the top. Not that they've actually brought any, but the pressure on Tyrant will become a second. The fact that they haven't got grenades and double hard breach makes me think it'll be a construction other side once they've got CC wall open.
I'm really worried about this site given the basement's open, because I don't see a world where this really goes too well here for MNM. Nello not going to be able to get that trick off effectively. Obviously, you mentioned the Thatcher going to be in play as well, being placed on both sides, makes it a little bit difficult. Tyrant playing the Doc on the rafters. Okay, Doc's great for this position, but you would like an Azami there either or, as well as or instead of. Obviously, if you're going to only have one, Tyrant is the better choice there on the Doc because he has the ability to stim up. But then you look at the denial they've got. It's always going to come down to a plant here, and there's only one C4.
That was very last second save there from Lagonis. So on the corner, I expected it not to be electrified. It did just swing it and was able to pick it back up. And here's what I talked about, the pressure that comes on the other side. The player on the rafters, if you have grenades or Capitao, it's easier to get out. It's still not impossible, but Tyrant in this dock, they're playing their life here. They're going to keep themselves stimmed up. They're going to hope that they can try and keep the pusher back. And at this point, you just got to take the fight. It's still possible. It's of course still doable, but it's made difficult. More so because Usus is here to offer some support. There goes Tyrant. They're suddenly going everybody. They're inside the site. Ness just charged in through the open breach. Just missed out on the next fight coming over the top. Pre-fires the door on the far end. A 2 versus 3 out of absolutely nowhere. Nafe finds one more back. The kid has slinked its way behind the CC stack inside the site with Nafe underneath, and the impact and possibility, they're just going to go for the rotate and see if they can play this. Reverse fishing. Solus is so good at this game. Unfortunately, they're missing where the player is. They've actually pulled themselves off the kit a minute, though. It is a very long time to have to do this.
Solus has got a lot of work to do and needs to wait for that gadget to recharge sufficiently. Ask knows this and he knows the timings, and Solotov, unfortunately for him, his glasses are on cooldown. Ask can to try and keep this information, or stop this information from flowing. Does still have the kit. Liquid, strange that they've got side control, they're not really doing too much about that, but they know this right now. Nath, he's going to be a little bit off-site as well, as Ash tries to find himself onto an elevated position. He knows that the pressure is going to be coming in from below. Now going to start to try and get this plant down, and Solotov, he can't see it for some reason. The plant has been allowed to go down, both players are downstairs, and Ask's been allowed to relocate. He's got himself outside, and now into construction. This is quite a serious retake that MNM have to pull off now. They might have a numbers advantage, but they're going to go up against Ask, and he's already shut Solotov down. You can't afford to peek him one at a time. Nath, he's located the kit and he's going to go for a disable, but he maybe doesn't have the full amount of time. Is he going to bait it? Is he going to switch it? Going to swing on through? Nath finds the shot. No whiff in here. Loads of time to disable that diffuser. Clutched by the skin of their teeth. Another one here for MNM.
It sounds like he jumped on. I wasn't on bulletproof, right? And it sounds like he's next to bulletproof.
Yeah, I heard you guys saying green box. I was like, okay, he's not planting.
Who was holding breach winning, by the way?
Me, but he literally full sprinted in.
Yeah,
I was actually about to say.
It's in turtle. Just tell me to hold it.
Let's do turtle.
Just listening there. If you're wondering for the silence, as we said at the start of the series, it's nice to hear. So now we know they're going to try turtle. Turtle down on Church. Good conversation. Thanks, lads. And you also heard the mistake there. Nafe saying, I was going to say it, but he was just straight into the breach. He was. They were caught a bit unaware by the pace there of Liquid. The 2 versus 2 turned into a 2 versus 1. You could see they were trying to find the place to put the kit down. They got rid of the bulletproof, and there was obviously a lot of discussion of where's that player? Where did you die from, Nesk? The Solus was looking to try and find it, was hoping it would be up towards where the bulletproof was destroyed. It wasn't, which is why I think they weren't able to catch it. And then suddenly they put themselves fantastically almost on the back of that clutch. They swung into the fight, but so did Nafe. Nafe dedicated himself to putting the pressure onto the window, and, well, let's see if the turtle they discussed is going to be something that offers them a little bit more to work with, when previously we were here, they really had nothing by the end of it.
I really love that conversation of who was watching Breach, and Nate's like, yeah, I was going to say something, but he was just in. It's like, Nesk will do that. Nesk will do that to you. Like, it's not going to be always, you're not always going to be able to be prepared for what he is able to bring here to the game. Big impact round there from Liquid. As predicted, they were able to get themselves in and get a bit of a plank going down, but MNM once again showing that they have that clutch factor, and I think this is the right play. This is the best thing that they could do right now. Get themselves back to Church and Arsenal, hit that full site rotation, and turtle into it. They didn't need to roam as heavily as they did back in round number 1, and we aren't going to see that here and now. What they have brought is plenty of denial. They've got 2 C4s, and they have a couple of Toxic Babe canisters as well, so they're going to be ready for this more long drawn out round.
Well, long drawn out is going to be off with the Kaid as well. They look like they're ready to try and catch anything that's thrown onto this hatch. Hope that they can bait some of the utility in with how much they have in their pockets. The Habana pellets, you would hope, would be the test of this, and that's where Lagonis is heading. Will he fire 4? Yes. Will they catch 4? Yes, and at this point then it turns into a game of cat and mouse. Are they going to try and dedicate more to this? They have the Maverick, they can rotate them around, as well as the Selmas, but you assume they're going to save those for potentially Pipe's Wall. There it is. It buys time. Time is Turtle, and Turtle might be money.
Nate still with the Electric Claw in hand, looking to make something happen here. There are a couple of impacts as well, of course, for that kitchen hatch if required. And with Lagonis already losing out on a few pellets, he does need to be quite careful. But nobody underneath. Tyrant, is he in position? Is he in the right location? Yes, he is. Catches another 4.
Oh, that is a bigger blow. You could see they were waiting, but he didn't wait long enough. 2 Selmas to open up that hatch as well. Suddenly, they've come at a massive cost. 3 hard breaches, technically, and, well, they might not even be able to get everything open that they wanted at this point. Another break onto this hatch. You still have an impact in position, but with the sledge making things a little bit more awkward for the approach at this point. They're just going to have to see if they can try and crack their way through. There's some pressure. there's some danger, but there's 50 seconds, and as we said before, last time there wasn't really anything to work with. Here, you've still got C4s, you've still got 2 of your smokes in your pocket as one has just popped off. They have everything to hold off this approach from Liquid.
Look at Tyrant here. He's making himself a den in the back of AKs. He's got those Kiba barricades, just providing a little bit of cover front and back. Starting to see a push down now as Nest makes his way in. Resets, he's going to be a long corridor, but MNM, they are resisting. Nathan Nello, what a piece. Down in process. Resets and Lagonis, they've got a lot to do here. Lagonis, of course, has the kit, but he's in no position to get that thing down. Equal 2 versus 2 now as Lagonis finishes off Tyrant. Users, no Toxic Babe canisters left and the plant going down. Conscious of the player inside of blue, picks one, gets the down. Lagonis off the kit, grabs himself one, swings, pre-fire, maybe gets the kill. No, Users! He was tucking himself into that corner, melting away into the wall. Again, coming down to the wire.
Spicy end of a round there. I said they had enough. Just is the word that you put before that. Resets. Death dive down the main corridor to try and find himself crouched through, was able to slip his way in to an aggressive position at the same time as Nesk doing the same on the opposite side. It's sharper from Liquid. It's still that thing where they're knocking on the door of success and smashing on the door of the site, but MNM are just doing enough here on their defenses to hold on. The growth from the last time they were there. I mean, still no tech timeout. Cool. Liquid, I think if this round goes away from them, we'll probably start to have that conversation, but still. Ooh, MNM, you could not be skin of your teething these past couple rounds more, and Liquid is so aware of that.
A round's a round, and clutches, whilst you don't want them, they're a little bit unpredictable, it feels good as a team when they start coming off.
Yeah.
And when they're going against you, it's going to be really demotivating. Liquid are at a point now, everything they touch just turns to ash. They are not getting any value out of these rounds. They're getting so close and then just not able to get it over the line. And it's small, tiny little things. I'd like to have seen the timeout already. I think it's maybe a bit too late at this point. We're round 5 now. Are they going to really do one tack timeout for one round of attack? Doesn't seem like it's got a lot of value into it. So we'll see what happens as we move now into round number 5 already. A bit of fire there dissipating inside of CCTV as the wall has been opened.
Yeah, if we remember last time we were here, what we saw was a couple of errors on the approach. A very early kill onto the Maverick we didn't quite get the full glimpse of, and then we definitely got the full glimpse of a great bandit trick on the opposite end. No bandit, no Maverick. We don't quite have the same story, and I guess that's going to potentially work in a little bit more of Liquid's approaching favor here. It seems like the walls are going to be less of a problem, and those barriers have been, well, barriers for the previous rounds. The Zami is making the approach via the drone hole a little bit more dangerous, and this half hard, half soft means bathroom is quite risky to swing your way into.
Bathroom's risky, but I like to see Nello on the Azami. I don't like to see him just peek around there and get taken out immediately. I can see the thought process with leaving it half soft. It hasn't really worked out too well for him. Users are going to try and get himself into position to do something about it. Nello could be recoverable here, but with Palu below, it might spell disaster.
Ooh, in the meantime, Solotov has been able to take a bit of damage on the opposite end. You can see the drones are getting the full read on the players inside, but unless you can work on it, well, you're still just trying to funnel yourself through the single opening that Liquid have. Somebody has dropped down underneath to try and start rotating the stairs. Obviously, Palu was looking for the fight at first, but with these grenades, actually, oh, someone else has dropped down. Nafe. They met the Maker and met the fight underneath, and that gives them even more to work with here. MNM, they just keep finding themselves in these little pockets of success. In the meantime, Nello passed away, unfortunately, but still, at the cost of the 2 players they've been able to get. You're looking at now the limitations. You don't have those grenades from underneath. You have neither of the pushes and pressures. There's a cut on the window. Tyrant and Nafe with 1 apiece, 1 more. 1 bit of health, resets. He's inside the site, but without the kit. And at what cost? He's just looking for the end. 4 rounds in a row for MNM.
And here it is, timeout requested by Team Liquid. I'll be honest, I know that timeout's usually good for 1 round, but this is a little bit too late, especially with how round number 5 just went.
Can we please get MNM's audio? I don't know if we can. We should get Tyrant having his key.
Yeah, handy that Tyrant.
I think the mic is next to Tyrant in the low.
keep it this way. 4-1. Take the last defense. Okay, we have defense.
Our only gates might be cold, by the way, Josh. I think our only gates were fucking cold. I'm playing the strat from now.
Actually, yeah, there's a really good muscle in there.
I'm gonna say something after this.
What do you want to do now?
Okay, guys, continue this way.
Let's see what the CC, no?
Continue this way. The words from Eden at the end there. I love there were the Reddit posts that were like, it's so cool. I entirely agree. I love listening into players. It's such a rare opportunity.
I'm going to Rooney, by the way, Nick. I'm not going to Rumble, mate. I'm going to Rooney.
I'm gonna go spawn pick this round.
Okay. I'm going to put a Rooney against my sock dogs. I'm having to constantly spin around in circles. I'm going to put a Rooney against my hound dogs.
Okay, the game is kicking back into life. I love that we get this opportunity. But I love that that's the first time I've specifically called Can We Listen In? It's just Tyrant just tapping away. Those are the high-end ideas that we want. I adore player comms. I think listening to them is a great opportunity. It teaches you so much from our position as casters, analysts, viewers as well. If you really want to get the truest idea of how a game feels, even after it's entirely completed, go back and listen to the amazing player comms that get uploaded by the players and the teams individually, or moments like that where we get to have a little bit of a listen in, even if it is just Tyrant.
The thing is, you've got to take the rough with the smooth, haven't you? You've got to take Tyrant tapping tab or whatever it is that he's tapping on his keyboard to hear them say, look, these guys are really slow.
Yep.
And they are. Liquid are at a snail's pace right now.
Uses his promise, spawn peak. Oh, does a little bit more damage than he expected, but Tyrant gets caught off on the back end of it. They discussed that, they tried it. I mean, if they had just hit the hammer with the DMR there, it would have been a confirmed kill. Wasn't, but hey, sometimes it's a risky strategy, isn't it?
It really is. MNM have got a very comfortable buffer here, and they can afford to go for things like that, especially on this last round, especially given that Liquid have just taken that time out. Maverick going to be employed this time to get the wall open, as there was a little bit of a problem with Bandit tricking previously. I'm very surprised to see this site chosen once again, although we have just seen a bit of a drop-off there from Nello. Nath going to be playing in a little bit of an alternate position this time as well, as Tyrant has been taken out on that dock. You would expect him to be playing the catwalkers instead. Nath is just going to be crouched underneath the window. It's a great spot, but as soon as the breach gets opened, he's kind of cut off.
The shield and the Monty, will it be a story of success? As you said, being cut off is always that big risk, and the pressure being put underneath here as well makes Usus' position a lot more uncomfortable. Lagonas has the idea of Nello's position as well. Nello has to move out of there. At some point, he can still sort of wait and bait because, well, we heard it from the mouths of MNM themselves, they're slow. Let's try and stretch that out. The longer you take, the more you hold your minerals to sit around in a position of danger, the more likely you can do things like this. Solotov just got down on the way back in. The C4 on the pop. Nello with an important fight underneath, wins it out, and Ask is gone as well. It's a technical 3 versus 2, but Usus can get Solotov back up here. Look what's gone once again. All those grenades, all that pressure. Nello, he's doing his best to hold on and cause some attention as they get the pick back up and rotate back round to the site that Liquid are putting some direct pressure onto.
Look at Nello out of the sight. He's an absolute demon. He baited Askin beautifully there. He's got a chance at another. The plant is going to be going down. Solotov from below. Is he going to get the read? He didn't last time, but he maybe doesn't now. Usus, he's going to push all the way through. No defuse planted, but Usus, he's 1 versus 2 here. The kit is going to be cold on the ground.
The impact came through underneath. The impact is hitting the hammer up top as well. Resets. Suddenly all that's left in a 1 versus 1. Massive damage done in 20 seconds. He's got to try and edge and eke this fight out. He knows they are close. They know where the kid is. They know they've got to try and get it landed. The flash on one side. The fight is on the other. And he might not have been able to get the first out the door, but he's sure to close it at the end of the round.
I'm the fucking Silas Gold.
I mean, he got the impact from underneath. The Monty was going for the plant. We saw it successful in terms of the Solar stopping it. That was a huge kill. Nello underneath it as well. You can see the impact of the impact. If he's declaring himself the Soulless Gold,
Let him have it.
let him have it.
Let him have it. I absolutely love when someone goes for a spawn peek and it's there at the end of the round as well. Wasn't successful on the spawn peak, didn't take too much damage, didn't get too greedy, but is there to clutch out when it really matters.
Oh, yeah.
On Aruni, no less. Aruni, of course, slow now, really slow.
Yep.
No longer 2-2, so always nice to see that still being used and still being brought and implemented. A 5-1 split here for MNM. Things are looking great, especially given how well they attacked on Kafe.
Let's put this into some ominous perspective. Yesterday, the way the group ended was 2 teams confirmed, MNM and Sonics. The fact that both of them had 8 points, there was no way the 3 remaining teams, all of them on 0, could all pass them. This game, the importance Liquid has here is huge. I had the pleasure of speaking to some of the team's brains behind MNM yesterday, and they said if they beat Liquid, they're confident they can get the top seed in this group. I mean, they've still got Sonics, and that is going to be a heck of a game when those two butt heads. Very excited to see who comes out on top, but of this, if Liquid cannot find at least something from this showdown, that is a very dangerous prospect for what are tournament favorites. The first is Solotov's. Sprayed through and resets once again, sent to the board. Maybe they aren't the Solotov. Maybe they aren't the Solis God.
Well, Solotov's definitely got his number. Taken out there nice and early. I bumped into Nath earlier and I said, you know, this, you've obviously got Liquid. It's a big game for you, but you guys are good because you're already out of the group. And he literally just said, we don't care about that. He said, we want the top spot. So that just goes to show the mindset and the mental behind MNM at the moment. They really are gunning for everything they can get, regardless of their current position. Nello, going to start to get this wall opened up. Nesk behind with the trick. The Bandit Tricker becomes the Bandit Trick E, as that was Nello's favorite little party trick over on his defensive phase. Now, is he going to go for it again? Nesk does still have a battery, but isn't really in position, especially with Solotov on this backstab.
Do they know about Solotov? There's a bit of a jiggle peek and a shoulder that swing through, and Solotov executes Parlu. Looks for the fight on the top of red. There's pressure coming from pit underneath. Nesk is able to win out an important first, but the Jackal users is slowly creeping their way towards the top of red, or at least somewhere they can do some devastation. The long-range fight, Nesk is more than happy to try and take it with a gun that can destroy. There is the pit player caught. There's a bit of a rotation coming around behind the player, Tyrant just goes for the hop in. He's looking for an engagement. He's hoping he can catch someone by surprise, and he does. Suddenly inside the site, looks for the second follow-up. Ask is deep underneath. They're still having these huge engagements, and I said the site, oh wait, everything is happening down in the basement, regardless of where everybody else is. This is where the kit needs to end up, and Tyrant is gonna end up locked out as well. Liquid, they take it.
What a strange round. When was the last time we saw a basement just all happen inside a garage and CCTV? No attention on Kitchen Hatch,
nope.
No attention on Moto, nothing on main stairs. It was a real strange approach there from MNM, and weirdly enough, Liquid were either ready for it or MNM chose to attack into it. I can't decide which one it was, but Flagonis is getting 2 kills with 1 clip of the SMG-11 on site. There is a problem. He's a great player, but you can't be letting that happen, especially when Ask is still hanging around at the top of Adam's stairs. A strange old round there, but a round that will feel good if you are a Liquid player.
Yeah, that was a huge amount of dedication. As I said, sarcastically, they're into the site, oh wait, and that's entirely it. It felt like they were playing their life to get control of the single room. Both teams. It's not just us saying that it was Liquid sort of going, we're going to play this. Nesk obviously wide swinging as the Bandit instead of trying to get a retreat. The rotate that came in underneath, there was about 4 or 5 people that were killed in just that sort of engagement here. But at the same time, when did it become sunk cost fallacy for MNM? At one point did they go, well, we've given so much here. Can we
give a bit more?
We've got to give a bit more. We have to try and win this out. We have to have the last laugh here, or at least balance things. And unfortunately, a bit too much of a cost before the end. Will it be a similar story here? Probably not. Only really Parlu is off underneath the site for now. There's a bit of an extension, you assume, towards CC on the opposite end, with Nesk playing around red.
MNM, they do have a couple of rounds in them to experiment and maybe make a few more mistakes than they would perhaps like, but don't want to let this game get away from them too quickly. A team like Liquid can be very punishing indeed. Nath, going to start by getting this jacuzzi wall open, or at least attempting it. He's, of course, conscious of the potential for some sort of a trick. However, you don't need to be too concerned. There is nothing that can trick on this defender lineup, and the Jacuzzi wall will be opened nice and easily. Recess, he takes a lick of damage as Solotov just drops off the balcony there. Is able to re-Kiba up that window and give himself a little bit more safety.
Where are they going to lead him? Will they dedicate the fight to the opposite end and force the CC player? What you'll often see is that as a sort of secondary step to getting Jacuzzi open. You cut construction in the middle, so Nesk really has nowhere to go but a long rotate, and it seems he's well aware of that, and before he gets cut off, here he is, pulling back towards construction. Otherwise, likely he would suddenly find himself once again under the barrage of multiple MNM guns, though he did very well with that on the previous round. Lagonis tucked in under logistics, about a minute 40 has gone, and MNM's posturing, but haven't been given the first fight yet.
MNM are taking the time here, and it's good to see. They don't really need to rush things all too much. They're setting up the fact that they've got a little bit of a control inside of construction, a bit of control over on the Jacuzzi side of things as well. Palu, if he uses the gadget, he will find out a little bit more than just the Iana clone, but he is going to be conscious, and he's of course playing below to be that big impact player, to stop that plant from going down if required, and to get a good idea of where this push is going to be coming from, as nades from below are so popular. Tyrant just dancing around him for the time being, as I don't think that anyone is really aware of the either's position. The drone comes through, Tyrant's slow, and well, Palu's even slower, picks him off there, and that's going to open things up somewhat.
Now with the smoke just holding off the stairs push, they've got 30 seconds, and this is when things become very risky for the low approach because, well, you've got to try and force yourself through the grenade. Over the top, won't get the catch, might get the camera. Lagonis might try and catch one back, though. He's paying a lot of attention, and grenades are getting success elsewhere. Tyrant finds Ask. You assume from underneath. They've had to pull themselves a bit further back, but now 15 seconds. How are they going to get the kit from Nello into the site itself? Not that way, at least. Definitely not. Let's use this. There's a drop inside logistics as well. They're having to beeline themselves straight to the site. Another 2 versus 1. Does not go the way of MNM either. 2 rounds in a row for Liquid.
3-2-1 not working out there for MNM. Is it time for a timeout? They've given a couple of rounds away softly. They've lost a round there fair and square. Boom! There we go. MNM timeout. Let's see what they've got to say.
Yeah, but we just wait. He's saying, wait, Luke is going to go on Windows after nading the pilot shoot. We're just not waiting for him.
Yeah, he was counting down, so I just went in. Guys, it doesn't matter. Hey, 5-3. We need 2 attacks. We threw 2, it's not let's focus on the next one.
We should have continue to do things together, guys. That's great. Just need to be...
Listen, they have to go shit site now. They either have to go bar or CC. One of the shit sites. They have to go shit site, we can win easily. Yeah. I would do the other one, by the way. I would not do back the one me and Josh play in line and shoot. Because we did on the back one before.
We didn't do the back one yet. Where we tried the back one yet?
Did not do that against Wolves. Who did we do that against then?
We didn't play CC against them.
Do you want to do the back one then?
You can if you want.
If they're CC, yeah.
I think they're going to CC.
If it's bar, do you want to just clear all the info on bar and then just reverse plant Monty in though?
Yeah, I would do that one.
Because I can't play Doku, so I'm going to have to clear.
Also clear up obviously, we researched that as well.
Frustration.
Frustration? I mean, as they sort of said, you know, it's Nello trying to get the heads back on and sort of saying, look, it's their 3rd site now. He said it in slightly different words, but...
I would call that the 3rd choice.
Yeah.
Least preferred.
He called it something else, but we're not allowed to. I swear on broadcast. Yeah, and I think the discussion there was, look, we just need to sort of get our heads back on. It's 5-3, we still have the advantage. It's only 1 difference. The last map obviously ended in the 7-4. They're still par for the course on where they were. It's 2 rounds in a row, but it's momentum that you can break. We highlighted the importance of winning after your tech time out. Do they know that it's this site? I think their discussions was about a potential bar. We heard Monty plant and reverse. That's not what they're doing. They're instead going to go for what is a pretty standard approach here towards CC take.
We know what they're going into here. They knew that they were going to one of 2 sites. They've planned for bar. They'll very quickly change and figure out exactly what they want to do here. There was talk of doing what they did against Wolves, so they've obviously got some clear ideas of how they want to try and approach whichever site it may be. I think the worrying thing there, listening in, was the frustration that was coming through. They've only lost a couple of rounds here, and they're still doing really well in the grand scheme of things. They're 2 rounds ahead. So that frustration, and I think Nello was doing a bit of a job to try and quell that somewhat. They don't want to let that leak through too much. Nello there is going to just bait out one of the bandit batteries, as we see a bit of an upside down rappel come through as well. They need that pressure from elsewhere, though, as the Thatcher now comes in to disable those batteries, and the old Selma on one side, Exothermic on the other is going to be enough to get the breach open.
Yep, there it is. But as we said a bajillion times, not even emphasizing that, this is always going to get open. That wall is an eventuality more than anything. It's what you do next, where the fight starts to hit the fire, especially with Thatcher on the board. Nesk has himself stocked up. He's in a little bit of a box of safety now with a Kiba either side of him. And Ask has himself a bit of width over the top of the stairs. Look underneath Solotov. There is a player a bit on the loose. It's Resets in the role of an Oryx that can get a bit of a surprise strike here and keep themselves very mobile if unchecked. Solotov's unaware of this fight. Assume it's going to swing to his direction sooner rather than later. Tyrant suffers a smoke. They're pushed back off the site. Nesk uses his Tyrant's inside. He's looking for the edge and the swing on it. There's the fight onto the first. Looking for the sliver on the second. There it is. Tyrant either side. Another smoke though, and they're forced back off. They lost elsewhere. A 2 versus 3. They are inside, apart from Nello, who has the kit and is an important player because he's got to go past the no man's land. Tyrant tears the head off for one more. The ping on the red player rotates underneath. They're looking for the fight through the gaps in the board, but they cannot quite get it. You're not looking at anything that can get the players going for the plant from underneath. However, Nello isn't entirely convinced about that, and they've got to go recollect the kit from the far end anyway. Whether they know that it's off there, it seems Resets has some form of an idea.
Tyrant's done some real hard work there inside the site. I'm surprised he's stayed alive for as long as he has. No C4 left from Parlu means that any sort of vertical destruction is going to be very difficult indeed, but it might not come to that. Resets, he shuts Nello down as the kit was collected. This would be an ace for Tyrant if he's able to pull it off, but look at what he's got to work with. Not a lot, and especially seeing as that gets caught up in one of the Wamais. He's going to try and open up this floor somewhat. 15 seconds, needs to try and go for kills. The barbed wire here going to definitely give him away, and you can already see the Liquid players retreating quite rightly. There isn't enough time to do all too much here. Tyrant, he's likely going to save KD, but Liquid, they're going to chalk another round on the board.
Yeah, Tyrant wanted the fight, but we actually saw the Oryx hop up via the bar hatch and get out of there. As soon as they heard that barbed wire, they knew where the player was. They know what the time was, and they knew it was time to get out of there. Third site, I mean, losing the kit on the far end, if it was in Nello's pocket, it's always that sort of moment. It's frustrating, but that's how the cookie crumbles at these points. They swung in, they just lost out to the player underneath, and I mean, Tyrant, as he said, did the business above, but unfortunately, not enough hours in the business day.
It's a shame because it doesn't matter if you can get yourself on the site and pick up 3. If the kit's in Narnia and your team aren't with you, it isn't going to matter, and an experienced side like Liquid are going to take advantage of that. They will know where the kit likely is. They will know where the players on the site likely are, and of course, their win condition. They now only trail by 1. We've got a serious game on our hands here if Liquid pick up this basement site, which, let's face it, they should. Basement's a great site here on Clubhouse. A lot of potential here. This game, while it may have looked fairly clear-cut on Kafe, it is becoming more complex by the minute as the further we get into Clubhouse.
MNM, you couldn't do it on the third site that you were most keen to, so now you got to do it on the first, the toughest, and the way we started off was actually not really on the site at all. It was pretty much all entirely located on the top floor, and I'm curious to see if there's a change of pace and face here from both teams. Seems like it. Liquid, they've gone with the turtle, pulled themselves generally all back in, softed absolutely everything. And the kitchen sink and sort of saying, okay, take your time. We'll be here waiting for you with everything that we've got in our pockets. MNM are, they're getting the clears, getting the ideas, and getting ready to go for their push. The hatches shouldn't be too much of a problem, nothing to electrify them, but it's the danger of the C4, the Kivas, and the smokes that might slow things down.
It's nice to see Liquid playing this a little bit differently. There was a heavy extension upstairs, as you alluded to there, last time we saw this site. Instead, they're going for, it seems to be the in vogue thing, right? You extend on your first defense of club in the basement, and then you turtle for your second defense of the basement. That's just how it tends to go. All teams like to follow that pattern, and Liquid no different here. So it is going to give MNM a bit more time to work with. They're going to have a bit more map control to get themselves established. They've got a load of tools to try and rip open a lot of this floor as well. They've got the sledge, they've got the book. They can do a lot of this soft destruction work and look to get those hatches open. We're going to see a bit of an exchange there on that kitchen hatch as Ask is going to be below with the impacts, but the Excaris pellets are going to be more than enough. The only problem if you would look to do it, is that church wall. You're not going to get the church wall open here with the kit that they have got, so they are going to have to come up with something a little bit different.
They do have the pocket heart breach. They could try and utilize that. It's not going to be as clean to try and open the tin, but the tin on the back end will get open. They've got all the hatches they need, and they've got about 1:10 left to try and start that soft you talked about and force the angle, force the position. The problem is there's a lot of ways to long arm and stop these plants finding themselves tucked in on the back end. They have all the support. Practiced lineup of a C4. You can see them just finding the perfect place that they've run many times to get this as a perfect hook down towards the bottom of those main stairs. But MNM, the pressure and the kit seems to be coming and highlighting itself around the back of Blue 45, and the first stresses and stretches towards Nesk, who's just going to use those glasses to peer on through and make sure nobody drops in behind. The Keepers tucked up on that top wall, give them protection from Kitchen Hatch as well, so it's going to have to turn into a bit of a drive. There's the first ping of the procs. There's the drive through further onto the site. The first kit is done. There's players either side of that hard wall, but look at the kit on the far end. They're itching to take Kitchen. Solotov takes the head. They've got to try and make a bit of motion in the ocean here and give him some semblance of support. The pings are consistent. Palu gets Tyrant on the back. Nafe is in with the kit. Gonna see if he can maybe stick it. The spray's over the top. The connection with a couple more players, and MNM once again have started to be torn apart. There's the swing onto the first player. There's the push either side. The coverage goes. As there's another round.
MNM really struggling with that 3-2-1 there. There was 10 players alive with 20 seconds left to go. And you see Solotov on the backstab. Great position. Picks himself up one. Where's the support? I commented at the time, if you're going to bring that lineup, you're going to bring the tin openers and a Hibana, you are going to struggle to get that church wall open.
Yep.
It isn't going to get opened in a meaningful way. You need to bring an ace, you need to bring a thermite to do anything significant with that church wall. Things that you can do is push down dirt tunnel. The classic kitchen dirt. Everyone's rank stack has a kitchen dirt that they can pull off. Open up the dirt tunnel with the tin opener, or however you need to. Open up the kitchen hatch, send somebody down blue. You have that three-sided attack. You have to have three sides to your attack when you're dealing with that basement. It's very difficult to just rely on a hatch drop and someone pushing down blue. Pretty soft from MNM. And I'm wondering if the head's gone, because we've already seen the chins dip a little bit in that last timeout. Now we're all level at 5-5, and Liquid look like they're just warming up into this fixture.
It was always that sort of danger that we talked about before, that the longer a fixture goes on, the differences can start to show. Obviously, there's still positives and negatives in terms of the killing game from both teams. There's still these moments. There's a lot of capable fraggers in this lobby. Who gets a little bit more of the windfall, who gets themselves a couple of steps ahead, seems to be generally the defining factor. And at the minute, it is Liquid. They're winning out some of their ones, their engagements. It's making things a bit too costly. And if when we heard MNM talk about time and Liquid being a bit slow, unfortunately, they're, as you said, in their own heads and suffering the same. The breach comes over the back end, some quick attention and clarity paid towards the oil pit drop. There is a player down here that they are fervently on the hunt for. Can Tyrant get a true taste of Palu tucked behind the third box, waiting for the drone intel, waiting for almost a swing? It is dropping a pin and hearing some clarity. There is a watch towards dirt, and you just wonder, as Nesk takes Solotov elsewhere, how long they'll sit here for.
Even if Tyrant just ends up wasting a lot of time here, he's doing a great job. It's not easy for Palu to play in that position. Palu, of course, trying to play on that Solace, trying to be that big denial. And Tyrant not really having the support at the moment, especially with already losing one man. If he's wrapped up downstairs, essentially leaves MNM with 3 players actively working toward the site. So we'll have to see how that develops and how that one plays out. For the meantime, Nello going to start to try and get open couple of these walls. Palu still operating downstairs.
I think they had a ping there on the player, maybe. There was a 5 ping that came rough, and Palu's just going to get out of there. He's not going to sit and wait and hope this hammer strikes at the right time. Instead, he's going to say, well, we have the advantage, and technically, we know it's a 4 versus 3 on the site, potentially. Nafe just absolutely took the head there off of Nesk, and he's just going to see if he can try and replicate that on the back end. Getting rid of the mute jammers, getting that wall open a minute. They're putting pressure towards Jim. They've got some of the highlight play, but look where Solace is now, inside the bar. Where have we seen that clutch play before? Well, in the previous defenses.
The fact that Palu's still alive is a real crime because he should have been taken out a lot earlier on. He was the biggest roamer, the biggest point of vulnerability, and now he is still alive when it is going to matter the most. Resets, shuts users down further in the pain here. Tyrant is going to be able to respond, finding one. Nello, a second. A brief flick of him on the scoreboards. Tyrant picks up his second, and Ask is all of a sudden the only player left. Palu gave up the security of that first floor and instead got caught looking. Nate now with the plant. Ask, there's no one out there on Jacuzzi balcony, my friend. They are getting the kit nailed to the floor as we see Ask eventually wakes up and smells the coffee. Nath, a plant and a kill to close out the round and to pick up MNM's first in a long time.
I have a couple of questions.
I think everyone does.
I have a couple of questions. What happened there? You know, the movement there of Palu to come back round, they were calls, they were comms. It seems like they were misinformed. The fact that they were watching out the Jacuzzi breach for that long, whilst everything else was going on and whilst the plant was going down, you know, what intel I think Liquid had there was unfortunately incorrect, because that isn't the hardest swing in the world. They were on the other side of the gym equipment. They were planting for a fair bit of time. You have a sturdy gun to get the cover if you want to. Mistakes happen, and I think that is one where Liquid's like, whoops, but in Portuguese.
Could still be whoops.
It could. I don't speak any Portuguese.
The biggest problem with that round is that it's now put MNM onto a match point, which is something that feels like it's snuck up on them a little bit here because they have been hard stuck on 5 rounds for the longest time. Now the fact that match point is there and there's a chance, and a very real chance, that they take this series as a clean 2-0, this really could spell disaster for Liquid. They need to play perfect siege from here on out. They need to win this round and they need to take us into an overtime.
Yeah, at this point, at this drive, there has to be something that can be the difference maker for Liquid. They've been so solid on this half, up to a little bit of a slip up there, costing them based on how the first half went. All those rounds, all those near misses, if they cannot get this into OT and maybe even further from the first half, are going to haunt them. We're on the shield plant. Remember listening in and hearing a little bit about this before. They have the kit as well. They're going to see if they can maybe drive themselves through, playing themselves against this with the bandit. You've got Ness coming in underneath. There's no Thatcher to try and stop this, but there is the shot. There's a fear. There is getting underneath. There's applying, as I said, pressure in multiple different ways for this. The rolls come through, the impact, EMP, the breach and the break. They've just not caught it there. And Palu gets out of there before he gets caught out of there.
Not the easiest thing to get that off with just the secondary EMP gadget, and it is a little bit of a bottle game as to do you go left, do you go right. Palu, unfortunately for him, picked the wrong side. And with that breach open, it now alleviates Nello of his duties. He can go and start to put a bit of pressure onto Garage. One of the best ways to take Garage, if you're not going to use Capital, if you're not going to throw a load of nades at the problem, is to use a Monty. Use a human drone and gather that info and have someone push up behind you. Palu has retreated now back into Cash, as Nello will start this approach. One of my only concerns is he's got the diffuser. Now, there was a bit of a problem last time with where that diffuser ended up if he is unsuccessful here.
He's not progressing with any pace, but he is drawing a lot of attention. But so are they. There's Nath, just misses out on a firefight. There is somebody on his back end, and there it is, resets. You saw the outline of him a little bit further away, and Nath suffers on the wrong end. Almost got the opener there. It could have been huge, but resets a little bit bigger. A minute now. Tyrant, hoping that the player pushes on further. They've obviously got some intel on it. They're going to lean into the fight. Just tucked them in. Tyrant hoping he gets the second. There's the shield play that Ness can stack behind. They're going to pull themselves a little bit further back. They don't want to try and risk that when they have the intel into their favor. They need this, the pressure elsewhere. Palu puts it down, swings wide with that SMG, causes some devastation. Almost swings wide and gets his second.
Users. Doesn't look too hopeful on the breach. He's looking for an opportunity. Tyrant does manage to shut Nesk down, and he could actually push up these Cash stairs now as well. Big problem here is going to be Garage. Nello still hasn't made any progress here onto Ask, and time is seriously ticking here for him. Ask is going to start to get pressured now, left and right, but his keeper barricades are going to do a little bit of business to keep him alive. Palu, he takes users down. Ask finds a great deagle onto Tyrant. Nello, you may have downed Ask, but let's be real, you've got a pistol, you've got a shield, and you've got 7 seconds. You've got no chance. Palu closes things out and takes us into an overtime. Liquid hanging on in there.
They did enough. They did enough there. MNM, you know, one of those engagements goes into their favor a little bit sharper. One of them doesn't. You've got a different story, but I've talked about coulda, woulda, shoulda before, and now it's just doing it at this point. Liquid, they have this overtime as their chance to see if they can try and cement themselves a point from this series. They fought bitterly, a lot better than they did the last time. They were on the stage against Sonics, but it could all filter away to nothing from the end of it. They need to get to a third map to get anything out of this. Even if they lose the third map, they still get a point. They lose this, regardless of an overtime, it's 0.
The biggest thing that Liquid have got going for them right now, we're going back down to basement.
Yes.
They've won this site twice, and we have seen 2 pretty bad attempts from MNM at attacking it, which isn't great because MNM are typically a reasonable team at Clubhouse, but who isn't? Everybody can play club, and it's when you get these inter-regional stylistic matchups that you start to see how those little tiny differences really start to stack up, and that's what MNM are coming up against here. They need to come up with a much better idea and a much better way of attacking this site, and already I'm liking what I see. We haven't got a Hibana.
No.
We've got 2 big impact hard breachers. We've got an ace, we've got a thermite, we've got some tin openers for a hatch. It's looking a lot better.
We also have a little bit of a change on the side of Liquid as well. They're going to play against those hatches. They've got themselves the Kai. They haven't really played with that before. They're just slowing as much time as possible here, the same way that was done to them. They went from an open roam to a turtle to an electric turtle, the coolest of all the animals. We'll see if it's something that can reward them with this, the potential match and series point, something they have not sat on at all throughout the 4 maps that they've played on at SI 2023. It starts at the top, as it does. You expect a little bit more pace, as you said, from MNM. They need to try and cut themselves through this map quicker than they have otherwise.
Seeing one of those Cade Electroclaws deployed on the Moto hatch, as is the norm, and Resets is going to be ready and waiting there to trick it. As soon as any sort of hard breach gets placed on there, he's going to try and remove it. The stock hatch is already open. MNM are spending quite a good deal of time here getting themselves acquainted. Solotov going to start ripping open a lot of this floor with the sledgehammer. That is, of course, the long corridor that cuts in between the 2 sites. Now can turn his attention to the back of Armory as well. Nello in position now, but something needs to be done about this Electroclaw.
Yeah, there's the reveal that they're playing around that, and they still have the one in pocket to maybe put it towards this, the kitchen hatch. And whether they knew that there was a kite before, they're aware of it now, and that turns into a bit of a problem. They'll try and fix that on this side, get the smash either side. You can try and get a bit of impact and destruction. There's a grenade that should be able to get this other claw just off, and Nello, you can see, was ticking damage to get that planted and in place. 1 done, 1 minute left.
Problems that can be solved here, and MNM are doing a good job of effectively getting it done. There is still the Electroclaw on the kitchen hatch, although that one can be a little bit easier to deal with. We're hearing Flores drones rip through as well. Snello will start to try and make his approach. No C4s to worry about on the side of Liquid, so you can be pretty safe stood on any of those soft surfaces inside of kitchen. Tyrant just eyeing up a little bit of action here inside of Blue, although those Wamai discs could really come back to bite him.
Yeah, there's a lot of smoke, a lot of fire now, and that has turned into a devastating place to point. It's where MNM has always structured their push. So this, the slight change as they drop onto Moto on the far end, might be the difference maker. They put them into a lot of pressure, and now they can try and apply it from just 2 different sides. But Nesk, well, he's fine under pressure and uses Cooks the first. There's a swing round, gets the down, gets the devastation, and gets themselves inside sight with the kit. The first time this has happened with any time to work on. Palu gets 1 back. The swing round pipes is important, and it's Nello for the double when they need it most. Palu, all that's left, and gets 1 more for his tally for this round. Can he get the last 2? The first is down the corridor. A bit of a bite, a bit of a shake, and a bit of a squeeze, but at half health, so is Usus. He's looking for either of them to give him something. They cannot really get out of there. They know a route. He's probably going to watch it. Nathis 2. MNM do what seemed impossible and take an attack down a church.
That is how you attack church. Look at the relief.
I mean,
you can feel that deep breath. You can feel that sigh of relief, like, oh, guys, we did it. We can attack into Church and Arsenal.
It's got to be possible. They've had enough attempts, you know.
It's just an entirely different approach, right? They've switched up the heart breaches.
Yep.
They knew they were going to focus on that church wall instead. They still had the backstab in blue. They were still able to get some of the hatches open. It was really everything that they were lacking out of every other time that they've attacked that site. They just put it into there and it worked perfectly. I did find it funny how Nello defaulted to the plant spot at about the right time and didn't have the kit and then comes off and just domes 2 people.
Yeah.
And it's like, even if he's not planting, he's doming people. He's just got that last 5 seconds of the round where he just turns into a monster.
Will that be enough, MNM? Because, well, if that was the 100% chance that has been broken there on Liquid's defense, for you, this is the one defense that you lost. The very opening round of the game, if you can believe time existed that far away, this deep into it. And you went with a very tall hold. It did not work. There's some stretch of an imagination. You can see Nello's pulling himself back in, leaving some mute jammers littered and flitted around the floor itself. Tyrant, he's eyeing up some ideas and impressions of staying up, but he's so close to rotating down that it's mainly just to act as a buffer. Get seen, get droned there, and then pull away, and then they've got to drone it all again.
Tyrant, as you say, one of those big impact players inside of this game, 12 and 10. No one really standing head and shoulders above either of their other peers here on MNM. Everyone very similar in terms of contribution. Likewise, over with Liquid, there's only really resets that's standing there at +6. It's been a bit of a war, as are most overtime games, and there's still the potential that this one goes to maximum overtime. But Liquid, it's been a while since we've seen them attack, and their attacks, well, they weren't all that hot. So let's see how they fare moving on through. They've got this top floor control, and we can see Nesk just letting that drone work on ahead of him. So he allows everything to be called as clear. A couple of mute jammers to be cleared out here as well. All of this does is just to slow down that approach.
Minute 44, and they're starting to get more confident that everybody is back down on the floor, so they'll drone their way towards this. The first fight onto blue. Ask. He's either side of Solotov, who's itching for an engagement at this point, but he knows that time is that always precious resource. As they set it themselves, Liquid can be slow. Let's see how slow the start of the breach there onto the hatch. They were sometimes wasteful on their loss here before. Tyrant is underneath with impacts though.
We already saw as well Lagonis kind of make a bit of a boo-boo with the old X-Karos pellets previously as well, and did lose more than he had to. Tyrant still with 1 impact left. You really want the sledge to come through and start to work that floor and to make it more difficult for Tyrant to feel secure in placing those impacts, but it is just a time game that Tyrant's looking to do. He's not looking to deny, he's just looking to waste more time. As the hatch is now allowed to be open, Tyrant still with 1 impact in pocket, so we're not too concerned there. The rest of MNM, there's a heavy stack up inside of the church.
See that though, the impact onto the Selmas, trying to get themselves onto this wall. They're gonna have to play that one super low, but that's all they've got at this point. They are really limited in terms of their actual pressure they can put onto the site via the hard walls they've got before. It's going to turn into a 30-second bloodbath. I'm excited to see how it goes. Full gear into Moto in the first win. He's in the side of Liquid. They're swinging wider and wider to try and find the next. As Ask suffers down the corridor itself, resets. He's tucked in. There's 1, there's 2! Users with the double. Solotov on the back end, and suddenly Ask and Palu have everything to do. The only breach that they've got, creeping their way through, pre-firing the angle. Support is coming from the side of blue. They're not giving anything. We got a pocket full of seconds, but what we do have is an MNM almost on the teetering edge. 2 versus 2 in a plant situation. Palu doing everything he can to try and hold on to the position. Ask gets the plant. Ask gets dropped. MNM get another 4 points. 2 maps. Scream to the top of the leaderboard, and Liquid, for all the fight that they had, leave with nothing.
After the first 2 rounds of Kafe, we said if you want exciting Siege, don't go anywhere, and that game has delivered. A hard-fought victory for MNM, 8 rounds to 6, and everything going down to the wire. Nobody left anything on the table there inside of that game. What a performance by MNM.
Oh, they did it when they needed to, and I think that's what you can sort of say. Okay, different levels of pressure for these 2 teams. One came into the day qualified technically, the other had to come off their reset day and reset the game. In fairness, the player with that name was great. The players were better on average than they were on the first day against Sonics, but now Liquid can only look at the remaining showdowns they have of the other teams that at the start of this hadn't got any points. because they are teetering on 0 at the bottom.
Things really not looking too good here for Liquid. As you mentioned there, 2 games, no points to show for it. They are a game behind, so there is that they do have going for them, but still, you can't take anything away from MNM there. They fully deserve those 2 points. And what a game to see. Clubhouse can be one of those maps that people go, oh, it's a Clubhouse. You can't look at that and tell me that wasn't an exciting club right up until the wire.
I mean, it's everything that you want. And what else do we want? Well, a quick break before we're back with the desk to break it down.
I'm Nicholas Morton, but you know me as Pingu. I'm a 2-time Rainbow Six Siege World Champion and former top Rainbow Six Siege player in Pro League. Welcome to my Siege Ranked Bootcamp. We're talking 20 seconds left on the clock, you got the diffuser in hand, what do? Play the way that you're comfortable with, because you have confidence when you're in this position, that is when you're gonna be at your very best. Good luck.
everybody, and welcome back to the MNM Fan Club. Hey, I'm Medic, your host here on the Command Center. With me on the analyst desk are Demo and Mr. Ollie. Hello, Exor Troika. I love the name, by the way. I find it very, very cool.
Thank you.
Something about saying Troika. It's like, oh.
It's a good name.
Yeah.
Car.
I had to time travel to get here.
Did you?
Yeah, of course I did.
That's incredible. And even then, in all of the universes you travel to, does MNM win every single one of these games?
Confirmed, yeah.
Confirmed.
I actually watched every single second of this game.
That's incredible.
I know.
Demo, I know you also were. I was sitting right next to you there in the green room. And the whole time we're thinking, goddamn, MNM are on fire. Did you get the proof? Did you get you say the proof is in the pudding. Did you get the pudding that you were looking for?
Yeah, that's the best win they've ever had. That's
Ever.
Heard it right here, folks.
Has there been a bigger win for them than that? Realistically, think about who they've played throughout their career.
That was a great game, and MNM played really well. It wasn't a good Liquid.
But
we can get into that.
Is that not the biggest team MNM's beaten, though?
Could be, yeah.
You know, how about we go through things map by map? Right, there's only 2 of them. It should be a pretty, quick affair, but we'll bring up our first one here on the board for everybody to see. We went to Kafe Dostoyevsky. MNM Gaming starting off strong, 7-4 against their opponents. Uses incredible. So it's not all in the mullet, with or without it. The man is popping off.
He's so good. I mean, Ollie, me and you knew about him for ages, haven't we? We've seen it in CL, the potential this guy has. And the thing about the way I always describe him is Mr. Consistent. Have you ever seen him have a bad game?
He's so consistent. 91% cost, 16-5, plus 11. You could go on all day about Usus and the way that he played this game. And there was some really nice moments on Kafe as well. I particularly loved how MNM attacked it. We've commented before, Kafe, a difficult map for the attackers. Not always attacker-sided, but just a map that attackers have a lot of work to do. They were able to get a 4-2 split on the attack.
Look at the entries. Look at Nesk's entries.
Incredible. Oh, the entries from Solotov were fantastic. He did a great job getting himself into a lot of those entry engagements. Tyrant as well, in and amongst the conversation. I enjoyed Kafe. I thought it was a great map.
It's a rough time there for Nesk, who is one of the top legends of Rainbow Six. And this is a telltale sign. You got Team Liquid, who has some of the most decorated and the oldest players in the entirety of the game. And that's, for example, on the other side, you got young kids from the EU pulled together by Nello, which is insane. We're looking at the NAIF, basically, the talent that's coming in from another EU team that they only brought on recently, and they're still working so well together. And I'm wondering, because we talked about this literally just before we went live here. Every time I've seen, over the past year, MNM taking a win, the camera would pan to them and you would see them red, breathing heavily, because they can't believe that it actually, went through. Today, everybody's smiling, everybody's having fun. It's an incredible shift.
You can see that they're not boys anymore. They're men.
Boys to men, yeah, let's go.
You look at it last year, they were just here. It's probably the same way we look at Secret, isn't it? Really a group of young people who don't have a lot of experience, and a full year for MNM. I mean, I said before, I thought MNM this year have really overachieved for where they come from, the kind of hopes and aspirations that they have, but then they've also underachieved at getting all those majors but actually doing anything. And they've gotten to the SI and they're actually performing. Again, do we say overachieving? I had them as 3rd place in the group. I would never think they'd be challenging for 1st. I wouldn't. That's just me. I'll tell them that to the face. I did not expect it to be, such a quick progression. I was, we'll see how they do. If they get 2 wins under their belt, Wolves are winnable, Direwolves are winnable, Sonic's Liquid, big challenges, but they stepped up.
They're undefeated, not even dropping a single map so far, and that's got to feel real good, even though it got close on map 2, which is our next piece here in the conversation. Let's bring it up on the screen for you. Now, Clubhouse did look much tighter, Ollie. What changed there?
Max OT Clubhouse. Liquid, they started things off with a bit of a bang and they came out of the gate swinging, picking up that first attacking round. However, it was a game of defender-sided club. The attacks really struggled, whether it was Liquid on the attack or whether it was MNM on the attack. And there's a couple of reasons for that. I think the bans in this one were a little bit funky across the whole series. The Solace was allowed through, and that's something that both teams really used to their better. So there was a lot of information getting exchanged with that. Of course, you've you've got some of the typical things that go with the Clubhouse anyway. But I think overall, Liquid, they were so slow. They lacked that critical instinct. They lacked that ability to make a decision and just go for it.
Look at the entry stats. Look at the opening picks for Liquid. They had the opening pick a lot of times, and they're leading in those 4v5s. And especially in Clubhouse, where I feel as though it's a map, you don't have the same flexibility in terms of what operators you can go for. You kind of have to run it by the book. You have to have that methodical style. And losing like an important operator, losing a hard breach, can be massive in a map like Clubhouse. Losing your nades, because again, you're very limited to what you can bring. Being able to like always have the upper hand and being able to keep everyone alive, you should be winning those. You have to see them out in Clubhouse. I think getting the first kill in Clubhouse is always a difficult thing, mostly because the defenders are going to hide away and into the bomb site they go, and it's very tricky to get those kills until the final few seconds.
And that's where it ended, though. We got to that overtime section. Like, okay, something's got to give here. But it seems like just with a bit of energy, MNM were able to cross that border. The last round definitely looked a bit choppy. Honestly, at some points, you're looking at the advantages, and like MNM should have taken this like ages ago. But it almost flicked back to Liquid and gone even deeper.
Well, if it wasn't for Nello stepping up, it would have been a disaster, and we might maybe still there trying to find out who's the winner of that game. Would at least still be on that third map. So Nello picked up a 3K in that final round. In the penultimate final round, the third attacking attempt onto Church and Arsenal, and that was the big difference. They were able to actually break the mold down there and to start picking something up.
Our MVP for this series, who is it? That's the question on our lips.
Is it my interviewee? Don't tell me it is.
You interviewed like almost everybody.
Yeah, but he's my favorite one.
You can't be saying that.
I can't say.
No one will give you an interview.
He is not.
It's fine by me. He's my favorite.
Definitely is not. Who is our MVP? Well, it's Ollie. Oh.
Hey, apparently me. Hello.
There it is. Put it on the screen.
Yep.
It's users. Definitely the most talkative person on the team, especially in interviews, as Demo knows very, very well. 138 rating, not too bad at all.
What's that pose? Who does he think he is? He can't even do the Spider-Man pose correctly.
No, he's giving me like Vegeta look, you know, like
the Neo.
He's staring into it and he's like, you know.
You mentioned Neo?
It's like the Neo pose.
No, Neo's another.
Wrong.
Yeah,
he's not here no more, mate. What are you on about?
Yeah, Neo Nello. That confused many casters. But we have hit overtime on our second stream between the two wolves. That is on map 2 Skyscraper. Gentlemen, thank you so very much. We're going to toss it to the stream so everybody can catch it right here, right now. I'll be back to you to break down our second matchup. Thanks so much. See you in a bit.